Chapter 76. Getting back his position is one goal, and competing with other gods of destruction is another goal for Lewis. Whis said that if you want to become strong, you can't just practice all the time. If you keep practicing, your strength will certainly increase, but if you don't fight against other masters, you will lack combat experience and skills. Normally, with Lewis's erasure, he could ignore this. But what if he encounters an opponent of the same level or stronger than him? Others can ignore his erase, so this is when combat experience and skills come into play. Beerus also thought so. He had fought countless battles in his life, and his combat experience and skills were not comparable to those of ordinary gods of destruction. This is why Beerus can be called the strongest gods of destruction. During this looking for a place trip, Beerus asked Lewis not to use erase. Let Lewis and other gods of destruction have a real battle. Start from the 6th universe and continue to fight through all 11 Xeno universes to accumulate combat experience and skills. It would be great if you were my candidate gods of destruction for the 6th universe. Kampa shook his head upon hearing Lewis' request. Beerus was not happy, and he came up and pulled Kampa's collar, angrily saying, "What, you are interested in my 7th universe's candidate gods of destruction, right? Humph, let me go." Kampa broke free from Beerus's hand. Lewis looked at Kampa and smiled, "So Lord Kampa, you... Okay, it's settled. I'm going to fight you, and that's it for the last time I gang beat you." Kampa was still a little flustered. Although Lewis said he would not do anything to him, he was still afraid that Lewis would erase him. Soon, Kampa suddenly realized Beerus' intention. "Bados, go, bring Kyle over here." Kyle, in the 6th universe, has the highest talent except for hit, and was recruited by Kampa as a candidate gods of destruction more than 10 years ago. Beerus must have wanted Lewis to spar with him to gain combat experience and skills. In that case, he would have to send his candidate bad god here to watch the battle between the 4th level masters of the realm of God. Yes. Bados disappeared for a while, and soon reappeared, bringing back a universe man with a purple cat head. Like Kampa, Kyle is also a cat breed. Also, both of them are fat, and Kyle has perfectly inherited all of Kampa's advantages. Lewis. When Kyle saw Lewis, his body trembled violently, mainly because he still remembered the gang fight a few years ago. "Kyle, long time no see." Lewis nodded to Kyle. "This guy was among the group that beat him up last time. This guy's power is the same as the candidate gods of destruction in other universes, also the 2nd level of God realm power, and his dimension is at the level of Hades. But Lewis' current target is not Kyle, but Kampa, whose power has reached the 4th level of the divine realm." Under the arrangement of Vados and Whis, a void battlefield appeared 10,000 meters in the sky. Lewis and Kampa moved their bodies and both entered the void battlefield at the same time. Whis brought Taisai to the void battlefield. Vados, Beerus, and Kyle followed closely behind. Inside the void battlefield, Kampa said, "I have to say, Beerus is really lucky. I wish you were the candidate gods of destruction for my 6th universe." Kampa said this twice, which shows how much he envied Lewis. "Haha, Kyle is also very talented, Master Kampa doesn't have to say that." Lewis moved his hands and feet on the empty battlefield, looked at Kampa, and said with a smile, "Master Kampa, if there is nothing else, then let's get started. Etc." "What's wrong?" Lewis stopped moving his hands and feet, a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. "We agreed that you are not allowed to use erase." Lewis was speechless. "If I use erase on you, Beerus will become my enemy. Don't worry. Okay, let's get started." As soon as Kampa finished speaking, an aura of destruction emanated from both of them. Two destructive auras are confronting each other. The space suddenly distorted. On the edge of the void battlefield. Seeing this, Bados raised his eyebrows and said, "Lord Beerus, your universe's candidate gods of destruction has become even more powerful. In that competition a few years ago, Lewis used all his strength but failed to break through to the realm of God. Bados knew that Lewis would transform, and now Lewis' normal strength was almost catching up with his previous strength after the transformation. Haha, it's okay." Beerus smiled happily. In fact, he was also shocked. Lewis only went to the Earth Heaven twice, and after coming back, his strength at full strength broke through to the 2nd level of the God realm. It's incredible. Taisai looked at the two people in the void battlefield and asked, "Whis, can Lewis win?" Naturally she wanted her older boy to win. However, Lewis' opponent is the long-established gods of destruction, and it is unknown whether he can defeat Kampa. Whis said calmly, without erasure or other means, it will be difficult for Lewis to defeat Master Kampa. If Lewis uses erase, then there will be no problem in defeating Kampa. As for other means, for example, time and space rules. If you use these methods, you may not win, but you will definitely gain the upper hand. Just like when Beerus had just entered the state of freedom and was sparring with Lewis, Beerus was beaten in the balls by Lewis. Ah! Taisai opened her mouth wide. If Lewis lost, he would not be very sad. Inside the void battlefield. The void battlefield has been covered by the aura of destruction, and the powerful force squeezes through the space, making a crackling sound. Xiangpa and Lewis confronted each other like this, and the aura around them became more and more solemn. Sudden. Lewis moved. Seeing this, Kampa, who was confronting him, shook his head, but the young man still couldn't keep his cool. Kampa turned into a stream of light, flew behind him, clenched his fists, and punched forward. Space explosion. A black shadow suddenly appeared from the void and then fell backwards. After just one round, Lewis fell into a passive situation. But that's normal. In strength, Kampa possesses the 4th level of divine power, and he also knows that Lewis can ignore any damage, so he uses all his strength. And Lewis has not yet transformed into a Super Saiyan. His normal strength only touches the 1st level of the realm of God, and he can't even reach the 2nd level of the realm of God. The speed possessed by this power is no match for Kampa, and Kampa easily captured Lewis's actions. In combat experience, if you strike first, you will be at a disadvantage. As soon as Lewis made his move, Kampa sensed Lewis's intention, so he was able to counterattack easily. After all, no matter how fat Kampa is, he is still a god of destruction. He has also fought countless battles and his combat experience is far beyond Lewis' reach. Chapter 77. So strong. Lewis fell heavily on the void battlefield, jumped up like a carp, and twisted his neck and limbs. The joints are creaking. Lewis looked at the fat figure in the sky, and in just one round, he realized the gap between the two sides. As expected of the gods of destruction. Drink! With a loud shout, a golden light appeared on Lewis' body, his hair turned golden in an instant, and a purple aura of destruction wrapped around the outside. Gold and purple intersect. The endless light is dazzling. Super Saiyan full power. Dimension, God's dimension. Power, the 2nd level of God's realm. This was the power he had cultivated while practicing the rules of time and space in the spiritual time house. When the normal power touches the realm of God, it transforms into Super Saiyan full power, and the power directly breaks through to the 2nd level of the realm of God. Anyone who hides his abilities from a master at the gods of destruction level is a fool. Lewis burst out with all his strength, transformed into a stream of light, flashed through the void, and attacked Kampa. Lewis' voice echoed in the void battlefield. Kampa-sama, be careful. Are you using all your strength? Ha ha ha, come on. In the air, Kampa licked his lips. He was a little excited to fight with this indestructible cockroach. Here we come. A destructive energy bomb hit, and the surrounding space suddenly became chaotic. With a bang, Kampa raised his hand and punched out. The purple energy bomb was like a firework, shattered in an instant, and turned into points of light, falling from the ceiling. The picture is beautiful. But, with a crash sound, Lewis appeared behind Kampa, raised his leg and swept it across, and the powerful force brought endless fierce wind into the void. Kampa quick block. Boom. As if hit by a nuclear bomb, the 2nd level of power in the realm of God exploded. Kampa's face changed slightly, and he suddenly moved back several hundred meters. Good boy. Just as Kampa was stunned, Lewis disappeared again. But Lewis, who only had the power of the 2nd level of the realm of God, was still too slow. Even if Kampa was distracted during the battle, he could still react. Kampa twisted his body and suddenly disappeared. Bang! Bang! For a moment, 2 balls of light are entwined in the sky. In just a moment, the two of them fought countless times. Bite! 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 Immune everything, all attacks bombarded Lewis, and the sound that erupted was a harsh sound. Endless light bloomed, making it impossible for people to open their eyes. 2 phantoms fell from the sky to the ground, and the energy aftermath of the battle spread in all directions like a flood. Space distortion. Magnetic field chaos. 10 minutes passed. Kampa became more and more frightened as he fought. During these 10 minutes or so, Lewis was like a sponge, madly absorbing the sea water. Lewis' combat experience and skills increased rapidly. Not that Whis hadn't trained Lewis in fighting skills before. The main reason was that Lewis' previous strength was too weak. In the past, Lewis only had a combat power of 75 billion, which was still at the mortal level. Whis' training of Lewis's fighting skills was limited to the level of candidate gods of destruction. Because the gods of destruction level fighting skills were too big a leap for Lewis. Who would have thought? In the following years, Lewis only went to heaven twice, and his power skyrocketed to the second level of the realm of God. This caught Whis off guard. On the edge of the void battlefield, the two men were still fighting inside, and Lewis' growth was visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, Kyle swallowed his saliva. My God, this guy is still a human being. Not only was Kyle shocked, but Vados's knuckles turned white as she punched the staff's hand. In fact, a few years ago, Vados and other angels went to Xeno Palace to meet the Grand Priest. She also knew that Louise had a special identity and was even related to Xeno. But only a few years later, Lewis' power broke through to the second level of the divine realm. Now, after only fighting with Kampa for more than 10 minutes, his fighting skills and experience are almost catching up with Kampa himself. Whis, your Lewis is so awesome. Vados opened his little mouth wide. Hearing this, Taisai pouted and said, whether my Lewis is powerful or not is none of your business. Ha ha ha, this kid has always been so perverted, I'm used to it. Whis smiled. It's just so-so. Beerus folded his arms, hummed a little tune, and was in a very good mood. No one even asked you how you were. The corners of Whis and Vados' mouths twitched slightly. Soon, everyone's attention shifted to the void battlefield again. Inside the void battlefield, the destruction costume on Lewis has been torn, revealing his strong muscles. Kampa had no injuries. From this we can see that Lewis was unilaterally crushed. Up in the sky, the two looked at each other and entangled with each other again. Bang! A fist smashed into Lewis' face. Immunity. Lewis ignored the damage but was sent flying backwards. A purple light streaked across the sky and quickly caught up with Lewis, only to see a fat figure beating Lewis madly. While being beaten, Lewis found an opportunity and punched Kampa in the face. Boom! Kampa's face twisted instantly, and a cat tooth flew out of his mouth. Lee Nanas. Kampa was furious and chased Lewis madly. Boom! The purple aura of destruction rolled wildly, like waves in the ocean, one wave after another madly hitting the barrier of the void battlefield. Another 10 minutes passed. Lewis's battle thinking has been able to keep up with his long-established gods of destruction. It was only because of the difference in strength that Lewis was unable to pose a threat to him. After Kampa finally knocked Lewis away again, his heart was beating wildly. Oh my God, what a freak! Ha 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 ha, what a joy! Kampa-sama is coming again. Lewis' power is actually weaker than Kampa's. Compared with the power of the second level of the realm of God and the fourth level of the realm of God. Although the span is still huge. After all, in the realm of God, each level of power is vastly different. But the second level of power in the realm of gods already belongs to the category of candidate gods of destruction level, and is qualified to comprehend the combat skills of gods of destruction level. The main point is, if other gods of destruction substitutes fight against Kampa, they will be destroyed on the spot by Kampa. But this guy is Lewis. Lewis can ignore any damage, and can improve his fighting skills by getting hit. Lewis was knocked into the air, he put his hands together, and a purple light began to flash. The air pressure around rose rapidly, and the entire void battlefield was like a pressure cooker. Destroy. Crash. The sky is full of purple light, gorgeous and dazzling. Good boy. Kampa was grinning, but one of the cat teeth in his mouth was missing. His aura suddenly surged, he raised one hand, and his lips moved slightly. Destroy. Buzz. Between heaven and earth, two destructive rules collided with each other. An overwhelming aura of destruction spread out, as if it was going to burst the void battlefield. Next second, two rule-breaking collides. A ray of white light was produced at the center of the collision, as if chaos was shattered, wherever the white light passed, everything was annihilated. Bombardment. Kampa's rule-breaking is so terrifying that the two Lewis rule-breakings can crush him back. What a terrifying power! Looking at the rule breaker coming up, the veins on Lewis' hands were bulging, and the power of his whole body was gushing out crazily. I used all my strength, but still no effect. Sudden. Master Kampa, I can't beat you. Lewis laughed, his eyes moved, and he gave up the fight with Kampa on the rules. Looking at the rule breakers coming at him, Lewis remained calm. Chapter 78. Do you want to use the ability to ignore any damage to withstand this attack? This was the first thought of Kampa and Kyle and Bados on the sidelines. But Beerus and Whis at the edge of the void battlefield covered their mouths and laughed. Bados frowned and asked, "What are you laughing at?" "No, I just thought of something funny," Whis said, and burst into laughter again. Beerus laughed too. Vados, Kyle, and Taisai were confused, and Vados was about to ask more questions. Sudden. A voice was heard in the void battlefield. Time goes back. Buzz. The vast rules of time gushed out from Lewis, covering the entire void battlefield. The destructive rules blasted by Kampa were receding, and the air pressure in the void battlefield suddenly subsided. How is this possible? Outside the void battlefield, Vados was stunned. Kyle's breathing was rapid, his pupils full of disbelief. When did Lewis understand the rules of time? What's that? There will be something even more exaggerated later. Beerus' tone was full of joking. He had been beaten before under Lewis' time rules. I get angry every time I think about it. But that BD Lewis is also going to take action against Kampa, which is really exciting. He won't be the only one who gets his balls ripped off from now on. Just at this moment. Inside the void battlefield. Space travel. Time went back to the time when the two had not yet fought each other and broken the rules. Lewis waved his hand, created a space crack in the space, and he jumped in. The next second he appeared in front of Kampa on the opposite side. Peach explosion. Lewis lowered his hand, condensed an energy bomb and pressed it under Kampa. AA. Kampa covered his crotch and made a heart-wrenching sound. Then, like a kite with its string dropped, Kampa fell straight down. Kampa fell onto the empty battlefield, foaming at the mouth and his body twitching. Seeing this, Beerus and Whis on the sidelines supported each other and laughed so hard that they were out of breath. I'm almost laughing crazy. Vados, Kyle, and Taisai only realized later that these two guys knew what was going to happen. Finally, looking at Kampa who was still twitching in the void battlefield, Taisai couldn't help but laugh. Kyle and Vados also wanted to laugh, but Kampa was the gods of destruction of the sixth universe, so they had to hold it back. His whole face turned red. It can be seen how hard it is to hold back. In the air, Lewis was gasping for breath. Seeing Kampa's miserable state, he grinned, "You were the one who kept beating me up just now." In fact, Lewis's fighting skills only increased to this level because he was constantly beaten up by Kampa. After all, there is still a huge gap between the power of the second level of the realm of God and the fourth level of the realm of God. It was because of Lewis's immune physique that he was able to survive Kampa. This competition ended in such a farce. As Whis said before, if Lewis didn't use wipes or other means, he would not be able to defeat Kampa. Finally, Lewis used the rules of time and space to instantly reverse the situation. Half a day later. In front of the Gods of Destruction Palace, there are all kinds of food, drinks, and fruits. Tais was cooking the feast and Lewis was helping. At the dining table next to him, Kampa sat on a chair, looking at Lewis back with a resentful look on his face. Kampa gnashed his teeth and said, "Skinny ribs, this BD, when did you understand the rules of time and space?" Lewis relied on these two rules to sneak attack his peach and made him look bad. It's really a shame. Bados and Kyle, who were standing next to them, covered their mouths and laughed, but when they heard Kampa's question, they quickly pricked up their ears. "You fat pig, I told you not to call me skinny ribs." Beerus didn't even look at Kampa. He picked up a cup of pudding from the table and poured it into his mouth. "Just a while ago. Then can Lewis fuse these two forces?" Bados blurted out. "After the fusion of time and space rules, we get time and space rules. It's okay." Whis ate ice cream and glanced at Beerus, then smiled and said, "Lord Beerus has made a new breakthrough because of Lewis's rules of time and space. When Lewis came back from heaven, he used the rules of time and space to create a time house, and Beerus broke through to the state of freedom in it." As soon as Whis finished speaking, the air became deathly silent. Kampa turned his head sharply and looked at Beerus intently. "There is a new breakthrough. What's the meaning?" Could it be that he broke through from the 5th level of the realm of the god of power to the angel realm? Vados also looked at Beerus, observed for a while, and finally discovered something. Vados swallowed his saliva. Master Beerus, isn't it just a small state of freedom? Even Lewis can do it, why can't I? Beerus waved his hand. Beerus looked calm on the surface, but the raised corners of his mouth and the tail that was raised high behind him betrayed him. Obviously, Beerus is very proud of himself for having realized the state of freedom. Impossible. Kampa's pupils shrank sharply, and he pointed at Beerus. I don't believe you must be lying to me. The state of freedom is at the level of angel. He would rather believe that Beerus likes to eat shit than believe that Beerus can realize the state of freedom. If it's true, it would be more painful than killing him. Seeing Kampa's unbelievable expression, Beerus grinned and laughed happily. In addition to regaining his position, he came to the 6th universe mainly to show off in front of the fat pig. Now Beerus is feeling very happy and excited. You don't believe it, do you? Beerus glowed with silver light, his entire body became agile, and he instantly disappeared from his seat. The next moment he appeared beside Kampa and hit him hard on the head. Do you believe it now? Ouch! Kampa covered his head, his eyes blazing with anger. Skinny ribs, I want to fight you one-on-one. Master Kampa, please finish your feast first and we can fight again later. At this time, Lewis and Ties came over with the prepared food. Even before anyone arrived, the tempting aroma of the food had already spread over here. Kampa and Beerus' noses were twitching like crazy, and the two brothers were like puppies, with their eyes narrowed and their tails wagging. Lewis brought the tempura, sushi, octopus balls, etc. prepared by Ties to the table. Beerus turned into a silver light, moved away from Kampa, and instantly returned to his original position. When Ties brought the last dish, the two Beerus brothers used all their strength to quickly pick up the dishes on the table. Woo! I finally got to eat Earth's delicious food again. So delicious! Why is there no such delicacy in my 6th universe? I ate it once and I will never forget it. What will I do without it in the future? As Kampa was eating, tears started to well up in his eyes. He looked as pitiful as he could be. Chapter 79. The State of Freedom, the Rules of Time, the Rules of Space, Erase. Why? Kampa kept stuffing food into his mouth and glanced at Kyle next to him. It's okay that my candidate gods of destruction isn't as strong as Lewis. Both are twin universes, but my 6th universe doesn't have Earth yet. The most abominable thing is that this skinny guy has realized the state of freedom. Kampa became angrier and angrier as he spoke. He stuffed a few more octopus balls into his mouth and said angrily, why does this skinny guy always get all the good things? Tayasi, your cooking is so delicious. How about I destroy Kyle and you stay in my 6th universe as a substitute gods of destruction? Kampa turned his head again and looked pitifully at Ties, who was next to Lewis. Kyle, who was eating next to me, rolled his eyes and said, I'm still here. Is it really okay to say that? Lord Kampa, shut up. Vados said unhappily. It was really unlucky to have to deal with such a gods of destruction. Well, I was just joking. Kampa shrank his neck. This tigress is so fierce. Kampa remembered something and asked hurriedly, by the way, Taisai, do you have any instant noodles? Instant noodles are the most delicious thing he has ever eaten. At the dining table, everyone's faces were filled with gloom. When will this fat guy ever stop? Finally, Beerus couldn't stand it anymore and threw a universal capsule to Kampa, which was full of instant noodles given to him by Lewis. The fat man finally showed a satisfied smile. At this time, Vados looked at Luis, why did you do that to Quitella? For a moment, the atmosphere at the table became subtle. The two fat guys, Kampa and Kyle, stared at Lewis closely. They received news some time ago that the 4th universe had a new gods of destruction, who was killed by Lewis using the erasure. Erase. That is the supreme law. Only priests are qualified to comprehend this power. I didn't expect Lewis to have learned it. But Kampa and Kyle were both confused as to why Lewis wanted to kill Quitella. Lewis picked up the napkin, wiped the corners of his mouth, glanced at Kampa and the other two, and then looked at Beerus next to him. Beerus nodded. The meaning is very clear, that is, this fat guy is one of us and there is nothing to worry about. Lewis was relieved. Yes, even though Beerus and Kampa quarrel every day, in fact, the brotherhood between these two guys is deeper than anyone else. After that fight, Quitella attacked me, and then he colluded with the Dark Demon Realm. Lewis spoke slowly. At the table, everyone held their breath and listened to Lewis's story. Lewis tells it all. Ty's heart was beating wildly. She didn't expect that her Lewis had encountered so many things. This damn rat actually attacked you. Kampa stood up from his chair, his eyes turned cold and he said, but it's true. With that damn rat's sinister character of revenge, he will not tolerate the appearance of a genius like you in the 7th universe. After all, Beerus and he have always had a grudge. In fact, it's not just Beerus and Quitella who have a grudge against each other. He and Quitella also have many minor frictions. Cats and mice are born to be incompatible. Kampa sat down on the stool and looked at Lewis. I didn't expect you to go to the Dark Demon Realm. Glancing at Whis, Kampa continued, you're really lucky to have escaped from the Dark World. Good luck? Without Demi-Cooler, the Dark World is nothing. I have the eraser in my hand, and Whis is giving me milk. Whoever comes will die. Lewis rolled his eyes. Besides, there is Miss Kess to save us. This is not an exaggeration, with Whis around, he is a perpetual motion machine, and even masters at Angel's level can't stop him from erasing. Lewis, you underestimated the Dark Demon World. Bados shook his head. Even if there was no Demi-Cooler, if you really caused a big commotion in the Dark Demon Realm, it would be difficult for you to get out safely after my eldest sister went there. The Dark World has always been the mortal enemy of Xeno Universe. The Dark Demon Realm knows how many powerful people there are in the Xeno Universe, and the Xeno Universe also knows how many powerful people there are in the Dark Demon Realm. In the Dark Demon Realm, besides Demi-Cooler, there are 4 other demons. The power of each demon god is at the level of a priest. In addition to this, including Putin, there are another 11 angel-level masters. Yes, Lewis, you still underestimate the Dark Demon World. Beerus took a sip of his drink and looked at Lewis. I didn't tell you about the Dark World before because I didn't want you to be exposed to it too early. I didn't expect you to go into the Dark World with Whis. After saying that, Beerus glared at Whis. Whis stuck out his tongue. He thought Lewis would just kill someone and leave. Who could have thought that Lewis would make such a big fuss? Lewis was stunned when he heard what Beerus and Vados said, and looked at Whis. Whis, is it true? Lord Beerus and my sister are right. We were able to leave the Dark Demon Realm safely before. Something must have happened in the Dark Demon Realm. Whis nodded, and he told all the masters of the Dark Demon Realm, and finally said, it is very likely that the other demons have entered a deep sleep, so my eldest sister went there, and we had a chance to escape. Whis's guess was correct, the other demons in the Dark World were in a deep sleep. Gurgle. Lewis swallowed, his back already wet with sweat. There are actually 4 other demon gods in the Dark Demon World, and each of them has the power of a priest. Unlike angel level, masters at the priest level are able to ignore the erasure of his prototype and can seal him permanently. Are you scared now? Don't be so reckless next time. Whis smiled. In fact, he was just trying to scare Lewis. It's not that those masters in the Dark Demon World are fake, but that even if his eldest sister didn't go, they could still escape from the Dark Demon World. Because the person he was shaking at that time was his father, but his father did not come, but his eldest sister came. Now that his father knew about it, they would be fine. You know, his father's power is far more than just a priest level. After you came back from the Dark Demon Realm, I originally planned to have you quickly cultivate your strength to the Divine Realm, and then hone your combat skills. After all, the Dark World has set its sights on you. Whis looked at Lewis meaningfully, who knew that after you went to the heaven twice, your power broke through to the 2nd level of the God Realm. Heaven? Everyone was confused. What is heaven? Kampa and the others don't know what the heaven is, but Beerus has learned about the previous Grand Priest from the Senzu Beans. The former Grand Priest lives in the heaven. Chapter 80. Amid everyone's puzzled looks, Whis changed the subject. Lewis, your power has broken through to the 2nd level of the God Realm, and you are being targeted by the Dark Demon Realm again. I agree with your and Beerus-sama's proposal for the Xeno Universe Challenge Tour this time. You and Master Kampa only fought once, and your fighting skills and experience have greatly improved. If you challenge the remaining 9 universes, you will definitely improve even more in all aspects. Normally, without Xeno's order, the gods of destruction and the alternate gods of destruction cannot leave their original universe for too long. First, this is to avoid the absence of gods of destruction, which would cause accidents to happen to the Supreme Kai in the universe, in which case gods of destruction would suddenly die. Secondly, it is to avoid conflicts between the gods of destruction of the two universes. After all, those who can become gods of destruction will not have good tempers. But Louis's situation was different now, and his eldest sister and grand priest did not stop him. That's why Whis agreed to Louis' challenge trip, etc. Kampa spoke. At the table, everyone turned to look at Kampa. Louis asked, "What happened to Master Kampa?" Kampa took a sip of his drink and looked at Louis with resentment on his face. "Go on the Xeno Universe Challenge Tour. Why do you want to challenge my sixth universe first? Also, are you taking me as your experience pack?" Thinking of something, Kampa covered his crotch again, which still hurt a little. Louis shrank his neck. This fat guy was a little cute. He couldn't bear to say that this was the truth. Louis had no choice but to wink, glancing at Beerus out of the corner of his eye. "I mean, Lord Beerus told me to do this." Kampa noticed Louis's look and was stunned. When he realized what was going on, he suddenly became furious. "You skinny BD, it's fine that I don't get a chance to have good things happen, but now you let your Louis bully me first." Kampa disappears from the table. He instantly appeared in front of Beerus and grabbed him by the neck. Still angry, Kampa showed his teeth with a cold look and bit Beerus' ear. "Ah! You're crazy, fat pig." Next second. Bang! 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 The two cats started fighting at the dining table. Everyone else knew that the way these two brothers got along was weird, so they turned a blind eye to it. The group chatted a lot more, mostly with Louis asking questions about cultivation. Kyle, as the candidate gods of destruction of the sixth universe, listened from the side and asked questions from time to time. There are two angels here, and they answer Louis and Kyle's questions one by one. At the level of gods of destruction, the power used is the power of gods. Louis did a great job in this regard. Kyle's dimension is only at the level of Hades, and is still far from the Kai King dimension. If you want to have a qualitative breakthrough, you must first cultivate your dimension to the Supreme Kai level, which is also known as the Divine Dimension. At this point, Vados looked at Louis again. "Now that Kyle has finished his questions, it's your turn. Louis, when you just fought with Master Kampa, you should have also realized the gap between yourself and the real gods of destruction, right?" Louis nodded and tried to speak. Vados continued, "The strength of the gods of destruction is not just in their fighting skills and experience. You and Master Kampa only fought once, but you were able to learn so much from it so quickly. Your talent is truly unrivaled in the world." At the dining table, Kyle, who was concentrating on eating, heard this, glanced at Louis, and then shook his head. Maybe he was a little unwilling to accept it before, but now he can no longer be unwilling to accept it. After all, others can even kill the gods of destruction, but what about him? Gods of destruction is strong in two important aspects. Vados's voice was very light, pure power and mastery of rules. You are able to ignore any damage. If it weren't for this, with your power at the second level of the divine realm, you wouldn't be able to take even a punch from Master Kampa. This is pure power. As for the rules, if the rules of breaking that Master Kampa knows are like an ocean, then the rules of breaking that you know are like a small stream at best. I'm sure you discovered this when you fought Master Kampa. What I want to say is that, in addition to breaking the rules, your time and space rules are not strong enough. Vados's explanation made sense, but when it came to the rules of time and space, they were not strong enough, and Louis frowned. Whis noticed Louis's expression and said, "Louis, you don't really think that your rules of time and space are already very strong, do you?" Louis asked in confusion, "You've said before that I have a better grasp of the rules of time and space than you do. When I was sparring with Kampa and Master Beerus, I relied on these two moves to gain the upper hand. Isn't that powerful? On Earth, he relied on these two rules to sneak attack Beerus' egg. In the previous fight, he relied on these two rules to sneak attack Kampa's egg. Your grasp of the rules of time and space is indeed better than mine. This is the truth." Whis glanced at Louis and said calmly, "But do you dare to say that you can defeat me with only these two rules? How is it possible to defeat an expert at the second level of Angel Realm using only the rules of time and space? This is definitely unbeatable." Louis shook his head. The only threat he could pose to Angel now was the move of erasure. "That's right." Whis picked up the napkin and wiped the corners of his mouth. "In fact, you were able to gain the upper hand in the previous competition with Lord Beerus because of the effect of surprise. The same is true when you fight Master Kampa. There are many factors that affect the outcome of a battle, in addition to strength and fighting skills. There are also surprise attacks, which can also affect the outcome of the battle. To put it bluntly, you only managed to turn the tables in the sparring just now because you sneak attacked Master Kampa. Whis spoke without mercy. Vados smiled and said, Whis is right. If Lord Kampa knew that you knew the rules of time and space, you would be in trouble. Why? There were 2 question marks in Louis' eyes. At the dining table, the 2 brothers were still fighting, and Kyle and Ties also looked at Vados. Here we have to go back to the question of strength. There is a saying that goes, one force can break all laws. Vados glanced at Kampa who was fighting with Beerus, shook his head and said, in fact, the power of the 4th level of the God realm can already interfere with your time rules. That is to say, if Master Kampa knew in advance that you knew these rules, you would not be able to reverse Master Kampa's time at all. Vados paused, then said calmly, unless Lord Kampa doesn't resist. Ah! Louis was stunned and looked at Whis. Whis, is this true? Whis nodded, yes, with the strongest power, let alone the rules of time, even if you break the rules, or even erase them, others can ignore it. Hearing this, Louis swallowed. He also remembered the plot in the Super Anime, where Frieza was hit by destructive energy, but relied on his powerful strength to break free from the destructive energy. Let me try. Louis didn't believe it and waved his hand at Whis. A time rule acted on Whis, causing his time to go backwards. Whis smiled, and the power of the 2nd level of Angel Realm trembled slightly. Snap! It was like glass falling to the ground, making a crisp crackling sound. The silver light suddenly disappeared. Louis' pupils shrank sharply. He could feel that his time rules were being blown up by a powerful force. Chapter 81. It really cannot be reversed. Then, Louis had to keep a close eye on Beerus who was arguing with Kampa. So, it turns out that Master Beerus was letting me win when he was sparring with me before. Louis was a little touched. He had used the time rule more than once when he was sparring with Beerus before. After being attacked by him using the rules of time, Beerus must have been on guard afterwards. But Beerus did not interrupt him from using the rules of time. Louis thought again about the time house he created, which was blown up by Beerus. Obviously, his rules of time and space cannot threaten Beerus. Beerus was being considerate of his feelings. Louis looked bitter. Kill Quitella and stir up trouble in the dark world. He always thought he was very strong. Only now did Louis realize that apart from erasure, his other powers were simply not up to par. At this time. Ha-hoo, ha-hoo. Beerus finally finished the fight. He gasped for breath and got up from the ground. When he saw Louis's eyes, he was startled. Why are your eyes so disgusting? Louis was originally quite touched, but when he heard Beerus' words, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. The others burst into laughter. At this time, Kampa climbed up from under the table. With a bruised face and swollen nose, he looked at Beerus and roared, "Damn skinny ribs, if you dare, don't use the free state." Hearing this, everyone's mouth corners twitched violently. Fighting like children and being at ease at the same time is really something special. The dinner ended quickly. Louis learned a lot from this competition and Vados's teaching. Louis was in no hurry to leave, and they stayed in the 6th universe for another month. During this month, Louis and Kyle have sparred several times, and in every aspect, Louis may not be as good as the real gods of destruction. But compared to the gods of destruction candidate like Kyle, Louis was able to completely crush him. If he fights those 10 gods of destruction substitutes again, he will definitely not lose. After sparring with Kyle, Louis also sparred with Vados. While he and Vados were sparring, Vados taught him various fighting techniques. She also proved with her actions what she said at the dinner table. Finally, Vados said that no matter how much she said, it would be useless. As for fighting skills, the mastery of strength and the application of rules, he needed to understand them on his own in actual combat. After sparring with Vados, Louis and the others finally expressed their intention to leave. The next universe they are heading to is the 1st universe. "You fat pig, eat the instant noodles I gave you sparingly." Beerus stood in front of the palace and looked at Kampa. "Stop talking nonsense and get out of here." Kampa curled his lips, but his eyes were full of smiles. "Master Kampa, Miss Vados, Kyle, thank you for your guidance. We will see you later. Goodbye everyone, come visit the 7th universe often when you have time." Lewis and Ties waved to Bados and the other two. Whis waved his staff, and before leaving, he sent a message to Vados, and then they turned into a colorful stream of light and soared into the sky. After receiving the information, Bados' pupils shrank sharply. The former Grand Priest is in the 7th universe. Inside the space tunnel, a shuttle cube is flying quickly. Beerus looked at Lewis and smiled. Lewis, how did you feel about this sparring? Lewis shook his head. I underestimated the masters of the 4th level of the God Realm before. Haha, do you think you're awesome just because you can kill Quitella? Whis looked over here. Lewis was helpless, but nodded. You can kill Quitella because you can erase him. In fact, everyone who can become a god of destruction should not be underestimated. Whis smiled and said, Lewis, you still have a long way to go. Lewis nodded. During that month in Universe 6, he learned about his shortcomings. In addition to his lack of proficiency in fighting skills, his grasp of the rules is also poor. Of course, the rules refer naturally to time rules and space rules. As for breaking the rules, he has a pretty good grasp of it, better than all the candidate gods of destruction. But his rules of time and space are a bit lacking. If the rules are divided into 10 levels, then Lewis's rule breaking is at the 5th level, just reaching the passing line. His rules of time and space are at most at 2 levels. In the words of Vados, if you want to use the rules of time and space in a battle, you must first cultivate these 2 rules to the same level as the rules of destruction. Okay, let's go to the 1st universe now, starting from the 1st universe and fighting to the 11th universe. Whis said, I believe that after this challenging journey, you will definitely improve greatly. The 7th universe. It has been half a year since Lewis left Earth. During this half year, Son Goku and Shishi got married. According to the normal timeline of Dragon Ball, these two people would have gotten married 3 years late. But fortunately, Shishi got pregnant shortly after she and Son Goku got married. The Earth is changing, and the northern Milky Way is changing as well. Cooler's invasion had previously plunged the northern galaxy into panic. But with Bardock successfully breaking through to become a Super Saiyan, Bardock, Son Goku, and Vegeta teamed up to defeat Cooler, and the North Galaxy returned to stability. It was also after this time that Saiyan was recognized by more and more people. In particular, the legend of Super Saiyan spread throughout the Northern Galaxy and even to other galaxies. Saiyan is a member of the Galactic Patrol, and as a result the prestige of the Galactic Patrol has skyrocketed to an unprecedented height. In addition, Saiyan also received good news. That means Saiyan has one more Super Saiyan. Chapter 82. The person who made the breakthrough was none other than King Vegeta. King Vegeta's power was originally only 2 million combat power, but with Bardock's transformation, King Vegeta was severely stimulated. During the past 6 months, he practiced very hard and finally raised his normal combat power to 3 million. Afterwards, under the stimulation of Bardock, he entered a state of extreme anger, and King Vegeta successfully transformed into the 5th Super Saiyan of the Saiyan clan. The breakthroughs of Bardock and King Vegeta gave all Saiyans hope. After Bardock transformed into a Super Saiyan, he said that in order to transform into a Super Saiyan, 2 conditions are required. First, have a certain basic combat capability. Second, extreme anger is required. King Vegeta's successful transformation made the Saiyan clan realize that what Bardock said was true. As long as these 2 conditions are met, they can break through and become a Super Saiyan. In fact, what the Saiyan clan didn't know was that in addition to these 2 conditions, there was a third condition. That is, enough S cells need to be activated. So far, except for Bardock, King Vegeta, Son Goku, Vegeta, and Lewis, no other Saiyan has activated their S cells enough. That is to say, in the short term, no new Super Saiyan will appear in the Saiyan clan. But the Saiyans were completely unaware of this, and they practiced hard, trying desperately to raise their combat power to over 3 million combat power. Because King Vegeta's combat power when he broke through to Super Saiyan was 3 million combat power. This day, Earth, Bun Mountain. Son Goku is accompanying the pregnant Shishi, Bardock, and Jin are also here. Suddenly a voice came from above, Goku, something bad has happened. Son Goku was stunned, isn't this voice King Kai's? Master King Kai, what happened? The last time King Kai spoke in this tone, Cooler showed up. Is there a new enemy this time? Goku, Bojack shows up. King Kai's voice was anxious. Who is Bojack? On the Bun Mountain, Son Goku frowned and looked up. Is Bojack as strong as Cooler? Oh my, these two people are not even on the same level. Soon, King Kai revealed Bojack's identity. Bojack is a thug who seeks to destroy the 4 galaxies. Many years ago, the 4 great kings joined forces to seal Bojack and his men. Bojack and Cooler are not even on the same level. If we really compare these two, 100 Coolers are no match for 1 Bojack. King Kai said anxiously. If Lewis heard King Kai's words here, he would definitely not question King Kai. In the anime, Bojack and his 4 men were originally sealed away. As a result, in the Cell incident, Son Goku brought Cell to King Kai's planet and blew up King Kai to death. King Kai's life is closely related to Bojack's seal. Once King Kai dies, Bojack's seal will no longer be effective. The fact that Bojack was finally defeated was thanks to Son Gohan's breakthrough to the Super Saiyan 2 state again. Only Super Saiyan 2 can defeat Bojack. Using 100 Coolers as an analogy, there is really no problem at all. What? 100 Coolers are no match for 1 Bojack. Bardock and Son Goku were stunned. Cooler was killed by them and Vegeta together. They knew very well how powerful Cooler was. If Bardock hadn't broken through at the last critical moment, he and Vegeta would definitely not have been able to defeat Cooler, and in the end they could only use instant transmission to escape in a hurry. Master King Kai, is Bojack really that strong? Son Goku swallowed, it was really shocking, so he asked again. Real. Back then, in order to seal Bojack, I and 3 other kings of the realms almost died at their hands. I know very well how powerful they are. King Kai's voice continued. For some unknown reason, the seal was suddenly broken. After the 5 of them broke through the seal, they started killing people all over the northern galaxy. Goku, this time the North Galaxy. King Kai originally wanted to say, this time the North Galaxy depends on you. But when he calmed down, he thought about the power difference between Son Goku and Bojack, and finally didn't say it out loud. The main reason is that Bojack is too strong. If he lets Son Goku take action, Son Goku will be dying in vain. He was too impulsive before, and after calming down and thinking through the consequences, King Kai remained silent. Son Goku was very surprised why King Kai suddenly stopped talking, so he put his finger on his forehead and sensed it. An evil aura appeared at the edge of the northern galaxy, and the aura was very strong, so powerful. How evil! Bojack's aura frightened Son Goku so much that he took 2 steps back. What happened to Kakarot? Bardock asked hurriedly. Father, Lord King Kai is right, Bojack is so strong. A fanatical look appeared in Son Goku's eyes. Bardock noticed Son Goku's expression and was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. In the 2 years they've been together, he already knew that Son Goku had a very simple mind. Son Goku loves his family very much, and he also loves fighting. He never backs down when facing a strong enemy. He can be said to be a pure martial arts fanatic. Son Goku will only show this expression when he encounters a strong enemy. It seems that this new enemy is really strong. At this time, Goku, don't worry about Jack this time. I will find a way with the other King Kai to seal him again. Don't go looking for Bojack. King Kai said and ended the call. Although King Kai said this, the fanatical look in Son Goku's eyes still did not disappear. Instead, it becomes more and more intense. Father. What, you wanna fight Bojack? Bardock smiled. Son Goku nodded vigorously. You have instant transmission. If you want to leave, no one can stop you. Go ahead and be safe. Bardock knew the character of his second son. Son Goku looked at Shishi, who was beside him with a big belly. Shishi touched Son Goku's face and said, go ahead. Just be safe. Son Goku was delighted, then I'll go find Vegeta now. Son Goku was about to use instant transmission, but suddenly he stopped. Shishi, you still have a few months before giving birth. I will be careful. After saying that, Son Goku disappeared from the spot. Looking at the place where Son Goku disappeared, Shishi pursed his lips. If it were in the past, she would never allow Son Goku to find Bojack. But Taisai told her about the potential dangers of the universe. Many times, you can't escape just because you want to. She agreed to let Son Goku go find Bojack because only by fighting continuously can Son Goku become stronger. That way, he could protect her unborn baby. Only by being strong can you protect the people you want to protect. This sentence will also be the principle she teaches her future children. Dark Demon World. Master Demi Cooler, why are we doing this? Chapter 83. In the dark forest, beside the lake. Tova blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at Demi-Cooler. Didn't we say we were going to bring Lord Louis back? Why did you suddenly let Bojack out? Demi-Cooler glanced at Tova without any emotion in his eyes. The icy breath he exuded seemed to freeze the entire lake. Tova quickly lowered her head. In the dark lake, two figures stood by the lake, and faint light fell on the lake, making it sparkle with silver light for a moment. No one spoke and the air was deathly silent. After a while, Demi-Cooler looked up at the sky and said calmly, Lord Louis has been taken in by the people of Xeno Universe as a candidate gods of destruction. Before he awakens, who among you can take him away from Xeno Universe, except for us demon gods who can do it ourselves? Tova suddenly realized. She knew that Lord Louis was still unclear about his own identity and that he now belonged to the Xeno Universe camp. Xeno Universe and Dark Demon World were originally hostile forces. If they want to take Louis away, other masters of Xeno Universe will definitely stop them. Even Louis himself would resist. Louis can ignore damage and erase. Therefore, apart from the devil taking action, no one else has any way to bring Louis back. But it is impossible for the 5 demons including Demi-Cooler to enter Xeno Universe. Because the Grand Priest is watching them. Then we. Tova nodded and tried to speak. Demi-Cooler looked down at Tova and smiled evilly. We can't take Lord Louis away with normal methods, so we can use abnormal methods. What is the solution? Just let Lord Louis awaken. Demi-Cooler stretched out his hands and laughed. Our dark demon realm was originally created by Lord Louis. As long as he awakens again, he will definitely remember the past. When the time comes, we, Lord Louis, will definitely return to the dark demon realm on our own. Hearing this, Tova said happily, Master Demi-Cooler, how can we make Master Louis awaken? Demi-Cooler turned his head, his smile was very evil. It's easy to awaken the Lord of the dark demon realm. Just let Lord Louis turn evil. Darken? Unblock Bojack? Tova was stunned. Soon, she combined the two things and said with wide eyes, Master Demi-Cooler, do you want Bojack to destroy the Saiyan tribe? In order to anger Master Louis and make him go crazy. Ha 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 ha, that's right. It is impossible to turn a candidate gods of destruction evil by normal means. Because the candidate gods of destruction itself is the spokesperson for the word ruthless. It can be said that almost nothing can influence the mood of the candidate gods of destruction. But no one is perfect in this world. Even the real gods of destruction have weaknesses, just like Quitella. Narrow-mindedness is his weakness. He can't stand Beerus being stronger or better than him. That's why there was a sneak attack on Louis later. According to Demi-Cooler's investigation, Louis is now the Scion of the 7th universe, and he laughed, we should attack the other members of the 7th universe. Maybe we can't let Louis turn evil again. But I found that Lord Louis values the Scion clan very much. If we take action against the Scion clan, Lord Louis will definitely be very angry. If this doesn't turn Lord Louis evil, I have other ways. According to my investigation, Lord Louis also married a wife. His wife must be his weakness. Go, find someone to lure Taisai back to me. I will awaken the other demons, and then we can attack Taisai together. North Galaxy's edge. In the star fields within a radius of billions of kilometers, there was wailing everywhere, and all living things were suffering. On a certain planet, there are ruins everywhere. Zangia stepped on the rubble and looked at Bojack. Boss, should we listen to Tova? Gajia, Buchan, and Biju all pricked up their ears. Bojack stretched out his finger, and a ball of black energy condensed at his fingertips. The surrounding space suddenly shook. The magnetic fields of heaven and earth are chaotic. Thunder rumbles. Ha ha ha. Bojack looked at the black energy on his fingers and smiled evilly. If you listen to her, you can gain such powerful power. Why not listen to her? Don't you think this power is very strong? Bojack narrowed his eyes and turned to look at Gajia and the other three. Powerful. A black aura burst out from Zangia and the other three's bodies, like a galaxy explosion. The incomparable power directly destroyed half of the planet. Boom. Let's go find the Scion clan. Bojack smiled with satisfaction. Soon, Bojack and his 5 companions flew towards the Galactic Patrol headquarters on a spaceship. When their spaceship flew past a desolate planet, there was a strong young man on the desolate planet, staring at the sky. And the name of this desolate planet is Wampa. King Kai Star. A short man stood in front of the house, the two antennas on his head shaking wildly. East Kai King, West Kai King, South Kai King. What happened to King Kai? At this time, 3 more voices were heard from the sky. Something terrible is happening. King Kai said anxiously, the seal of Bojack and the other 5 has been broken. What? Who? Bojack. Aren't they sealed by us? Shorty, please explain clearly. The other 3 kings asked hurriedly through voice transmission. King Kai was sweating profusely, shaking his head and saying, I don't know what happened, they suddenly broke the seal and are now heading towards the center of the North Galaxy. East Kai, as long as we don't die, Bojack, how can they break the seal? West King Kai, as the king of the Northern Galaxy, you don't even know why Bojack broke the seal. You are such a failure as a King Kai. Hearing this, King Kai flew into a rage, you think I don't know? They broke the seal without any sign. Okay, now is not the time to talk about this. The voice of King Kai of the South came, it is a fact that Bojack and his team broke the seal. As for why they broke the seal, we will explore this later. Now we have to find a way to deal with Bojack and his team. Many years ago, Bojack and his crew had fought against them, and they knew how strong they were. If we don't find a way to stop Bojack, the universe will be devastated. Chapter 84. South Kai King is right. We have to find a way to stop Bojack and the others. Seal them again. The East Kai King and the West Kai King sent a message. Seal them again. King Kai shook his head, when the 4 of us sealed them, they already consumed half of our strength, and we haven't recovered yet. Do you think we can still seal them? As King Kai's voice fell, the sky suddenly became quiet. Soon, King Nankai thought of something, and he spoke, by the way, King Kai, didn't your Northern Galaxy produce a few Super Saiyans? Can't we just let them stop Bojack? South Kai's voice was filled with envy. After all, there is no such strong person in his Southern Galaxy. Yes, yes. The other 2 kings of Kai also remembered the legend of Super Saiyan and echoed it. It can't be stopped. King Kai shook his head. Those Super Saiyans are only slightly stronger than Frieza. Instead of letting them fight Bojack, it would be better for the 4 of us old guys to seal them away again. King Kai was just panicking before, so he went to Son Goku in the first place. Calm down now. If Son Goku is allowed to stop Bojack again, there is no doubt that this will be Son Goku's death. No matter what King Kai said, he would never do such a thing. Only slightly more powerful than Frieza. Then they definitely can't stop Bojack. What to do? With our current strength, we can't seal them again. The other 3 kings sounded very anxious. King Kai thought for a moment and looked up, let's go find Lord Kaio. The sky suddenly became quiet. Soon. Okay, we can only look for Lord Grand Kai. The 7th universe was undercurrent. Half a year later, Lewis had already challenged the 9th universe. In the world of gods of destruction in the 9th universe, Lewis was shirtless, and his entire body was emitting a purple aura of destruction. If he leaks even a tiny bit of strength, the space will vibrate. His power is extremely terrifying. On the opposite side, Sidra, the 9th universe gods of destruction, was lying on the ground, holding his crotch. His face was pale and his body was twitching. Ha ha ha, Lady Sidra, see you later. After saying that, Lewis and the others disappeared from the 9th universe gods of destruction. The only one left at the scene was Angel Mojito, the servant of the 9th universe. He waved his staff and cast a healing spell on Sidra. Sidra was instantly revived with full health. He got up from the ground and looked at the place where Lewis disappeared, with the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. What a scary boy! In just half a year, he has advanced from the 1st universe to the 9th universe, and his power is about to break through the 3rd level of the God realm. Besides that, his fighting skills are no less than mine. I guess even Beerus can't compare to him. It can ignore any harm, can erase, can be in a state of freedom, and can also follow the rules of time and space. It seems that there is a reason why Quitella died in his hands. How can there be such a freak in the world? When Sidra was sighing in the 9th universe gods of destruction, a shuttle cube was flying quickly in the space tunnel in the direction of the 10th universe. Travel inside the cube. Whis looked at Lewis and said in a strange tone, why do you like to use the rules of time and space to sneak attack other people's crotches? As soon as the words fell, the air inside the shuttle cube became deathly silent. The atmosphere is very solemn. Beerus recalled what happened on Earth. He felt a chill in his crotch and couldn't help but squeeze his legs together. You don't have any weird habits, do you? Lewis, you. Taisai swallowed and couldn't help but take a few steps back. From the first universe to the ninth universe, no gods of destruction could escape from Lewis, and all of them were killed. She had never noticed that her older boy had this habit before. How so? What are you talking about? Lewis doesn't care about other people's eyes, but he cares about Taisa's eyes. Why did his sister Tais run so far? Do you really think he is that kind of person? Lewis rolled his eyes at Whis. Isn't this for Lord Beerus' sake? Beerus looked confused. What does this have to do with me? Taisai and Whis looked at Lewis, with two big question marks in their eyes. Didn't I sneak attack Lord Beerus before? If this matter were to be told to others, Lord Beerus' enemies would laugh to death. Lewis grinned and said, look, if I beat up all of Lord Beerus's other enemies, then they won't say anything bad about each other in the future. Hiss. Whis and Taisai both gasped. There is such an operation, it's like using a knife to cut the buttocks, it's really eye-opening. Then I have to thank you very much. Beerus on the side was both angry and amused. He found that Lewis was becoming more and more mean. Tais returned to Lewis' side, covering her mouth and giggling. As long as her older boy didn't have that weird habit, it would be fine. Okay, half a year has passed, Lewis, and you have fought from the first universe to the ninth universe. Whis said calmly, you have made a qualitative leap in all aspects, especially your fighting skills. If the strength is equal, even if you fight against Lord Beerus, you will not lose to him. Beerus was speechless for a while. Just say it, why involve me? But during these 6 months, he witnessed Lewis' growth. At the beginning, without erasure, the state of freedom, and the rules of time and space, Lewis would be a weakling in combat. But half a year later, Lewis's understanding of combat had caught up with him. This boy is so perverted. In addition to these, Lewis, your power has already touched the 3rd level of the God realm. That's a good point. My sister told you before that the ultimate power can ignore everything, which means that one force can break all laws. Only when you are strong yourself can you be truly strong. Of course, this doesn't mean that breaking the rules is useless, but pure power is the foundation that supports everything. With strong pure power, everything is possible. As for the rules, it's extra power for fighting across levels. Just like your previous strength was only at the 1st level of the God realm, if you don't count the ignore, and you only use pure strength, you can only fight against God and people at the 1st or 2nd level of the God realm at best. It's not impossible to even fight with a master of the 3rd level of the God realm. But there is absolutely no way we can fight against someone at the 4th level of the God realm. But once you use the erasure, no one except those at the priest level or above can resist it. This is a cross-level battle. The universe shuttle cube is flying, and Whis is giving Lewis a long lecture. Lewis kept nodding. Beerus nodded from time to time. He also learned a lot from Whis. The two big idiots listened to Whis's instructions like primary school students. Taisai on the side saw this and covered her mouth with her hands and laughed. Her Lewis was so cute. Okay, next we're going to the 10th universe. Whis summarized Lewis's gains in the past period of time, and then said, Lewis, you have entered Super Saiyan full power. Your power has reached the bottleneck of the 2nd level of the God realm. Perhaps you can break through to the 3rd level of the God realm during this time in the 10th universe. The 3rd level of power in the realm of God. Lewis clenched his fists and muttered to himself. Finally, he shook his head. He knew he had reached a bottleneck, but it was not so easy to break through. Compared to breaking through to the 3rd level of the divine realm, he is more interested in the candidate Supreme Kai in the 10th universe. The shuttle cube continued to fly, at the same time, the headquarters of the Galactic Patrol in the 7th universe. Boom! The entire Galactic Patrol building was blown to pieces. Galactic King, where is Myers? Hurry up and ask him to come back for reinforcements. Chapter 85. Boom! Another energy bomb landed near the collapsed Galactic Patrol building, causing a deafening explosion. The powerful airwave knocked King Jinga and Jack to the ground. Boom! Various energies continued to explode. Jack spat out the sand in his mouth, quickly helped King Yunhee to get up from the ground, and the two of them fled into the distance. Mers is guarding the galactic prison. We can't count on him. The Galaxy King said as he fled. Myers is guarding the galactic prison. Jack led the Galaxy King to dodge an energy bomb and said bitterly, "Then we are doomed." At this time. Ha ha ha, the Saiyan clan is really here. Go to hell. In the sky, Bojack and his 5 companions arrived here from the North Galaxy's edge. The 5 of them circled in mid-air, bombarding the Galaxy headquarters indiscriminately. As long as they saw any life, no matter if it was Saiyan or not, they would not let it go. Soon, a Saiyan finally died in the attack of Bojack and his 5 companions. Wasn't Bojack sealed away by Lord Kai and his men? What should I do? What should I do? The fleeing Galaxy King was at a loss when he saw this. Sudden crash. A golden light flew from afar. Jack turned his head and said excitedly, "The King of the Galaxy, it's King Vegeta." Cooler and Frieza both died at the hands of Super Saiyans, and King Vegeta was also able to transform into a Super Saiyan. We are saved. However, he can't be stopped, let's escape first. The King of the Galaxy has been in this position for so long that he knows a lot of secrets, and he is also very familiar with Bojack and these 5 thugs. In order to seal the 5 of them, the 4 great kings almost died at their hands. King Vegeta can't stop Bojack and the other 5 at all. No way. Even Super Saiyan is no match for them. Escape first, and then we'll find a way to notify Mels. We can only rely on Mels. The sky. I saw a golden light flying towards me. Bojack and his men stopped attacking and looked ahead with a playful look on their faces. Zangia smiled and said, "Boss, his strength seems to be pretty good. Is this the Super Saiyan? Why would Tao target someone with such weak power?" Bojack looked at King Vegeta and shook his head. "Who are you?" King Vegeta saw many Saiyan corpses on the ground, and the anger in his heart was almost uncontrollable. However, he had been on Earth for 2 months and had learned how to sense breath. He sensed the power of Bojack and his 5 companions. It was too strong. The power of these 5 people on the opposite side was too strong. If he rushed forward, he would only die. In fact, King Vegeta's perception was not wrong. He transformed into a Super Saiyan, and his combat power was increased 50 times, but it was only 150 million. Let's not talk about the strongest Bojack, let's just talk about Bojack and his 4 subordinates. Gajia's combat power is 1 billion combat power. Buchan's combat power is 900 million combat power. Biju's combat power is 1.2 billion combat power. As for Bojack's most trusted subordinate Zangia, her combat power is 1.7 billion combat power. The 2 sides were not at the same level at all, and it was a wise decision for Vegeta not to rush forward immediately. "Boss, let me kill him." Zangia ignored King Vegeta's question and stood up, her voice a little excited. "I really don't know why Tao would target such a rubbish race. Go ahead, kill him, and then we will destroy the entire Saiyan clan." "Yes." A bloodthirsty look flashed across Zangia's beautiful eyes. She licked her lips and instantly disappeared from the sky. The atmosphere in the sky suddenly became solemn and murderous. An intense sense of crisis arose spontaneously, and King Vegeta, who was hovering in the air, felt his scalp tingling. He could not see Zangia's movements at all. Crash! The graceful figure only flashed in the sky for a moment. King Vegeta suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and slammed heavily to the ground. Boom! A deep pit suddenly appeared on the ground. Puff! In the deep pit, King Vegeta covered his abdomen and spit out blood. I'm a Super Saiyan, how is this possible? It's so frustrating. He was stimulated by Burdock and finally became a Super Saiyan. Just one move. He can't even take on any of the other people's moves. I won't give up. King Vegeta fell to the ground, spitting out another mouthful of blood, and his pupils began to dissipate. King Kai Star. It's over. I can't contact the Great King. Without the help of King Kai, we have no way to deal with Bojack and the others. The universe is probably going to be in trouble now. The voices of the 3 kings of the East, West, and South were very anxious. Wait, King Vegeta is going to stop Bojack and the others. King Kai suddenly yelled, the 2 antennas on his forehead shaking wildly. Is that the Super Saiyan you were talking about? Shorty, how are you now? The 3 kings of Kai now have no way out and can only place their hopes on King Vegeta, as King Kai mentioned. Soon. The Arctic King shook his head and said bitterly, sure enough, it's still too far away. Ah! King Vegeta couldn't even take one of Zonga's moves. Hearing King Kai's words, the other three kings were filled with disbelief. Is the gap really that big? However, recalling the previous fights with Bojack and the others, the three kings fell silent again. They are well aware of the strength of Bojack and his 5 companions, and besides Bojack, the strongest one is Zanja. It is normal that the so-called Super Saiyan is no match for Zangia. Just at this moment, the antenna on King Kai's head suddenly shook wildly, and he widened his eyes. Son Goku, you big idiot, didn't I tell you not to go? Why didn't you listen to me? Chapter 86 Galactic Headquarters. When King Vegeta's breath was about to disappear completely, sudden, 2 figures appeared out of nowhere in the sky. They had blonde hair and blue eyes. There was no aura emanating from their bodies, and their auras were very stable. The people who came were none other than Son Goku and Vegeta. Father. Vegeta saw King Vegeta dying in the pit. His eyes were bloodshot. He quickly used instant transmission to appear next to King Vegeta, crushed a senzu bean, and stuffed it into King Vegeta's mouth. Meanwhile, Son Goku has already fought with Zonga. 2 figures wrestled with each other in the sky. Bang! Bang! The gusts of air created by the collision were like the impact of a prehistoric beast, destroying the dilapidated Galactic Patrol headquarters once again. In the distance, Bojack narrowed his eyes. This Super Saiyan seems to be more powerful than the previous one. Gao Bia sneered, he's only a little bit stronger. If you take action, you can kill him without the dark power given by Tova. Alright, stop watching and get started. Destroy the Saiyan clan completely. In the sky, Bojack laughed evilly and waved his hand. Jobia, Butchan and Biju nodded and attacked the surviving Saiyan below. Crash! 3 figures turned into harvesters, punching and kicking. Bang! Bang! Each Saiyan exploded in an instant like fireworks. As time goes by, even Bibbert and Gracie died at the hands of these 3. As for Raditz and Theodore, they were not there. They were out on a mission and escaped the disaster. More and more Saions died at the hands of the devil Jobia. Hateful. In the air, Son Goku pushed Zangia hundreds of meters away with both hands. He saw more and more of his people dying. Want to stop it? He want to get rid of me? No way. A seductive voice sounded in Son Goku's ears. When Son Goku's pupils shrank suddenly, and then he was hit on the side of his face by a hard fist. His face twisted instantly and turned into a cannonball, falling straight to the ground. The other side of the ground. After eating the senzu beans, King Vegeta finally recovered. He stood up from the ground and saw hundreds of Saions being killed. Suddenly I was furious. King Vegeta yelled, Vegeta, go save them. Vegeta turned his head and saw the shocking scene in front of him. His heart twitched. Those were all his people. Unforgivable. Crash. A flash of golden light shot up into the sky and instantly disappeared where it stood. King Vegeta also turned into a golden light and quickly killed Gobia and the other 2. In the air, Son Goku got rid of Zonga's entanglement, and when he saw Vegeta take action, he calmed down a little. Who are you? He had sensed this aura on Earth some time ago, and King Kai told him not to get involved in this matter. But he had finally met such strong people, and he would feel uncomfortable if he didn't compete with them. Certainly. Although he is simple-minded, he is not stupid. Son Goku is aware of his own strength. If he rashly goes to the edge of the North Galaxy, that would not be a sparring match, but a way to get beaten. So he took Vegeta with him and took him into the Spirit Time Chamber, where he stayed for 2 years. Who would have thought that 2 days later, Bojack and his friends would arrive at the Galactic Patrol headquarters? He boy, your strength is pretty good. You can actually hold out from my hands for so long. Zangia hovered in the air, looking at Son Goku with a little fear in his eyes. This Super Saiyan is different from the previous one. The power of this Super Saiyan is a bit terrifying. Kakarot, our people are almost being killed by them, and you are still talking nonsense here, kill them. At this time, Vegeta on the ground fought with Gobia and the others, and in a few rounds he seriously injured the 3 of them. He yelled at Son Goku in the sky. In the sky, Son Goku glanced down at Vegeta and King Vegeta, and a powerful force suddenly erupted from him. Boom! The overwhelming momentum made the sky tremble. Zangia was shocked. Your power! You are the second person to see me at full power. Go to hell! The first one is naturally Vegeta. It turns out that half a year after defeating Cooler, Son Goku's normal strength broke through 10 million combat power. When he transforms into a Super Saiyan, his combat power is only 500 million, which is far less than the 5 Bojaks mentioned by King Kai. So he took Vegeta into the Spirit Time Chamber and stayed there for 2 years. He and Vegeta used Senzu beans to recover from near-death situations, and within 2 years, he increased his strength to 50 million combat power. Transforming into a Super Saiyan increases combat power by 50 times, or 2.5 billion. As for Vegeta, his combat power after becoming a Super Saiyan is only 2.4 billion. After all, he is still the eternal runner-up. In addition to this, the two of them successfully entered a very stable Super Saiyan state. Son Goku named Super Saiyan Full Power State. Son Goku who enters the full power state of Super Saiyan is completely different from the normal Son Goku. Son Goku looks evil and his eyes are extremely cold. He disappeared from the sky in an instant. The next second, he appeared behind Zangia. When Zangia's scalp tingled, and she turned around. The result was an iron fist. Bang! She was hit in the abdomen, and a mouthful of acid rushed from her stomach into her mouth and spurted out violently. Severe pain spread throughout the body. Boom! Boom! Within a few seconds, Zonga was attacked hundreds of times by Son Goku and was completely unable to fight back. On the ground, Vegeta was also attacking Gobia and the other three. The two gay friends directly pressed and rubbed Bojak's men. King Kai Star. King Kai was originally calling Son Goku a big idiot, but when he saw this scene, he was stunned. The three kings of the world spoke. Shorty, what's wrong? How is the battle going now? Bojak isn't going to destroy your North Galaxy, is he? Destroy. King Kai was so excited that he started dancing on the spot. Ha ha ha, how could it be destroyed? My Northern Galaxy is saved. From what he knew about Son Goku and Vegeta, they were at most only slightly stronger than Frieza. The two of them had fought Cooler before, and they couldn't even beat Cooler, until Bardock also transformed into a Super Saiyan, and the three Super Saiyans teamed up to kill Cooler. This is also the reason why he asked Son Goku not to get involved in Bojak's matter before. Who would have thought that in just half a year, Son Goku and Vegeta would become so powerful? Galactic Patrol Headquarters. Boom! Explosions were heard in the sky. There were also several figures entangled on the ground. Son Goku and his two companions were fighting against Bojak's 4 men, while King Vegeta was rescuing the Saiyans who were seriously injured. Sky, Bojak, who was watching the show, frowned when he saw this. How come these two Super Saiyans are so powerful? From his observation, the status of Son Goku and Vegeta was very strange. Apart from being stronger than King Vegeta, the auras of Son Goku and Vegeta are very peaceful, not at all as violent as King Vegeta's. Chapter 87. What Bojak doesn't know is that this is the Super Saiyan at full power. Although this state still puts a strain on the body, it is much less than the strain caused by a normal Super Saiyan. Moreover, in this state, the violent aura in the body will be greatly reduced. This is why Son Goku and the other person look so calm. At this time, boss, I can't take it anymore. In the sky, Zangia broke free from Son Goku's hand and flew to the other side. She stared at Son Goku in front of her. I didn't expect this Super Saiyan to be this powerful. Zangia gritted her teeth, she wished she could tear Son Goku into pieces. If it were in the past, she would definitely not dare to fight against a master of this strength. But she was rescued by Tova and given a dark power. This is different again. Boom! A black aura began to emanate from Zangia's body. At the same time, the three people including Gao Baya who were being beaten also had a black aura coming out. The temperature of the entire battlefield dropped rapidly. The evil aura is spreading. It spread to the earth, and the Z warriors on earth suddenly looked up. It spread to the entire northern Milky Way, like the netherworld, and the river was icy cold. King Kai and the other 4 kings trembled when they saw this. How so? Supreme Kai world. Under a big tree, Asen was reporting to the old Supreme Kai how many planets he had created recently. Ancestor, I created another 103 planets. Is that a bit too much? How can there be so many? The few planets you created, skinny ribs can blow them all to pieces with a sneeze. The old Supreme Kai sat on the ground and looked at the young uncle, his eyes shining. Xian's face was full of black lines. What kind of ancestor is this? He even looks at the little emperor uncle. Supreme Kai has lost all his face because of him. Sudden. The crystal ball on the ground suddenly lit up, and then a picture appeared. The entire scene was pitch black, like rose in hell. Then the scene changed, and two blonde Saiyans were being beaten crazily by four men covered in black. Ancestor! Asen shouted anxiously. What happened? Old Supreme Kai was startled and jumped up from the ground, accidentally stepping on his little uncle and was about to curse. Axon pointed at the crystal ball on the ground and shouted, "Grandfather, look!" Old Supreme Kai was stunned. What is this kid crazy about? He lowered his head. Dark aura, oh my god! Old Supreme Kai was startled again, and the little uncle on the ground was stepped on again. Ancestor, what is the dark aura? Didn't I tell you before? The dark aura is only possessed by people from the dark demon world. The old Supreme Kai squatted on the ground and looked at the crystal ball, frowning. The power of these two Super Saiyans is not bad, and their condition is very stable, but facing those four people full of dark aura, they are still far behind. The crystal ball kept showing the scene of Son Goku and Vegeta being beaten. You know, when Son Goku enters the full power state of Super Saiyan, his combat power is 2.5 billion. Vegeta also has a combat power of 2.4 billion. Ancestor, aren't these two from Lewis tribe? It's over, they're going to be killed. As soon as Asen finished speaking. In the crystal ball, Son Goku's right hand was broken and a hole was blasted in Vegeta's abdomen by an energy bomb. The two men vomited blood and were about to be killed in the next second. They put their fingers between their eyebrows and disappeared in an instant. It turned out to be the instant transmission from planet Yadrit. Old Supreme Kai patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately they know instant transmission, otherwise we would be dead. Ashen pointed at the crystal ball and shouted, "Ancestors, they are back again." In the crystal ball, Son Goku and Vegeta recovered to their peak condition and returned to the battlefield to continue fighting with Zonga and the others. Hey! The old Supreme Kai was stunned. How did these two people suddenly recover? And their strength was stronger than before. But what's the point of recovering? The old Supreme Kai shook his head. After being endowed with the power of darkness, the power of those four people will be more than 10 times stronger than before. The difference in power between the two sides is visible to the naked eye. These two Super Saiyans cannot beat them. Before using the dark power, Zangia and his friend's power, Gogo's combat power is 1 billion combat power. Buchan's combat power is 900 million combat power. Biju's combat power is 1.2 billion combat power. Zangia's combat power is 1.7 billion combat power. According to the old Supreme Kai, by using the dark power, the combat power of the four of them all broke through to over 10 billion. Ah! What should I do then? Asen clenched his fists. Zangia and the others were too powerful. Not only that, the aura they exude is extremely evil. Shin sees Majin Buu and Zonga and the others and starts to get nervous. Axon, have you noticed that the guy who has been watching the show is the strongest person among them? The old Supreme Kai saw Bojack and frowned. These two Super Saiyans can't even beat those four trash, let alone the guy who's watching the show. What should we do then? Ashen was so anxious that she almost cried. Lord Beerus and Lewis have left the 7th universe. We are doomed. The old Supreme Kai was also anxiously walking around the Supreme Kai world. When he came out of the Supreme Kai sword, he found that the 7th universe was ranked second to last among all the universes on the internet. It can be said that there are no strong people in the 7th universe. Over the past decade, with his assistance and Lewis's sabotage, the 7th universe has developed better and better, but there are still not many strong people in the 7th universe. Since breaking the seal, the strongest mortals he has seen so far are the two Super Saiyans on the crystal ball screen. Without Lewis and Beerus, the 7th universe will definitely be destroyed by those dark people. Old Supreme Kai's face became more and more anxious, and his pace became faster and faster. Sudden bite. The bell beside the old Supreme Kai's ear rang, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 88. In the crystal ball, Son Goku and Vegeta were seriously injured by Zangia and his men. Fortunately, both of them know instant transmission. Every time they are in a life and death situation, Son Goku and Vegeta will use instant transmission to leave the Galactic Patrol headquarters. The two men recovered and came back here to fight with Zangia and the others. This is definitely not a solution. The atmosphere in the Supreme Kai community was becoming increasingly tense, and Xin was almost crying with anxiety. My lord, Lord Beerus and Louis are not here, our 7th universe is doomed. FK it, I'm still here. Old Supreme Kai lowered his head, staring intently at the picture on the crystal ball. Xin turned his head and looked at the old Supreme Kai with strange eyes, touched his head and said, Old ancestor, with your thin arms and legs, can you beat those 5 guys? Ashen's look left old Supreme Kai speechless. He suddenly jumped up and hit Ashen hard on the head. Hey, what are you doing, ancestor? Did I say I was going to? Old Supreme Kai lowered his head again, staring closely at the 2 figures on the crystal ball, and touched the bell earrings on his ears. His eyes became brighter and brighter. What a good seedling! Xin looked at the old Supreme Kai with resentment on his face. It's already this late, and it's a good thing that Miyozu is still alive. The good seedlings you mentioned are still being pressed to the ground and rubbed by others. Youngster, do you want to see fusion warriors? Grandpa, what is a fusion warrior? Fusion fighters. Old Supreme Kai raised his head 45 degrees to look at the sky, his face full of bitterness, as if he recalled some unpleasant scene. He used to be a handsome boy, it's all because of that damn old witch. Stop talking nonsense and call Jebet over. The old Supreme Kai shook his head and yelled at Asin. Xin suddenly shrank his neck. Although his ancestor looked at the little uncle all day and seemed very unreliable, after spending some time with him, he knew that his ancestor was actually a very capable Supreme Kai. The situation was urgent now, and his ancestor must have thought of something, so he hurried to find Jebet. Not long after, Jebet arrived here. As long as I am here, the 7th universe will not be destroyed. King Kai took off 2 earrings from his ears and handed them to Jebet. Jebet, you give these 2 earrings to the 2 Super Saiyans, and make sure they each wear one. Good old Supreme Kai-sama. Jebet didn't ask any more questions, he had already realized the seriousness of the matter. He took the 2 earrings and disappeared from the spot in an instant. After Jebet left, Asin took off the Padara earrings from his ears and said, Ancestor, what are these 2 earrings for? Can they save the 7th universe? Didn't I just say fusion fighters? The old Supreme Kai smiled and said, these 2 earrings can fuse 2 people together to form a brand new powerful warrior. The power of this kind of fusion warrior will be very terrifying. If the 2 Super Saiyans on the crystal ball are fused, they may even be able to fight Louis. Louis is the candidate gods of destruction of the 7th universe. Apart from Beerus, he has the strongest power. The old Supreme Kai said that the warrior created by fusion of 2 Padara earrings could even fight Louis. This. Xion's breathing was rapid, and his face flushed red. Grandfather, then our 7th universe is saved. Don't worry, as long as the fusion can be successful, those 5 pieces of trash will definitely not be a match for the fusion warriors, even if they have dark powers. Old Supreme Kai took the Padara earrings from Xion, then put them back on Xion and said solemnly, 2 mortals can maintain the fusion state for 1 hour using the Padara earrings, but Supreme Kai are different from mortals. Once 2 Supreme Kai wear them at the same time, they will be fused together forever. The old Supreme Kai touched Xion's little head and sighed, youngsters, remember, Supreme Kai earrings must not be taken off easily. Speaking of this, he thought of that damn witch again. It really p'd me off. Will we be together forever? As Xion thought of the scene of fusion with other people, his body shuddered violently. But why did his ancestor sound so strange? Had he ever experienced this before? The waves in the 7th universe were still surging, and at this time a colorful stream of light appeared in the Gods of Destruction world in the 10th universe. In front of the Gods of Destruction palace, 4 people suddenly appeared on the purple grass. These people were none other than Louis and his friends. Louis landed on the ground and saw Rumschi, Abraham, alternate Gods of Destruction, Gvuz, Zamesu, and Kes waiting there. Meet Lord Rumschi, meet Lord Gvuz, meet Miss Keshi. Louis stepped forward and bowed, and Taiza's wife followed suit. Kes nodded, revealing 2 dimples, and smiled, it seems that this challenge journey has improved you a lot in all aspects. From her observation, Louis' power was about to break through to the divine realm, much stronger than before. She knew that Louis could transform, and if he did, then his power would most likely break through to the 3rd level of the divine realm. In fact, Louis' power has not yet broken through to the 3rd level of the divine realm, but he has reached a bottleneck, and the next step is to break through to this level. In addition, Kes also found that Lewis' behavior was extremely natural, every movement was full of temptation, and it seemed that there was a weakness at every moment. Kes knew that Lewis had integrated his combat awareness and skills into his body and made them part of his body's instincts. This is a bit like the state of freedom, but not as exaggerated as the state of freedom. Simply put, this is a simplified version of the state of freedom. Compared with the real state of freedom, the simplified version of the state of freedom does not consume a lot of physical energy. Before this, only Beerus could reach this level of combat. Half a year has passed, and I didn't expect Lewis to reach this step. Ha ha ha, it's okay. Lewis touched his head, feeling a little silly. At this time, Rumsshi looked at Lewis and said calmly, "Finally, I have come to my 10th universe." After Lewis killed Quitella, he started to fight from the 1st universe all the way to the 9th universe. No universe could stop him, and they all became stepping stones for Lewis. Now it's his turn. Rumsshi turned to look at Beerus and clenched his fists. "Forget about Skinny Ribs challenging me. You can skip my 10th universe and go directly to the 11th universe to challenge. There is a mortal there who has cultivated his strength to the extreme. Wouldn't it be better for you to spar with that Jiren?" The other gods of destruction all became stepping stones for Lewis, and Rumsshi really didn't want to become this kid's experience bag. Rumshi's tone startled Zamasu next to him. Wasn't it just accepting the challenge of the alternate gods of destruction of the 7th universe? Why does it look like your parents have died? But, according to rumors, the candidate gods of destruction of the 7th universe is able to perform the erasure operation and even killed Quitella of the 4th universe. I don't know whether it's true or not. Thomas's eyes were always on Lewis, and Lewis happened to look over at him as well. Chapter 89. Zamasu? What an interesting candidate for Supreme Kai. Lewis smiled inwardly. In the super anime, Zamasu is a candidate for Supreme Kai, but his state of mind is not well cultivated, or it can be said that he is born to be an anti-human existence. Zamasu wanted to destroy all of humanity, but Zeno finally used erase to get rid of him. I just don't know if he had that thought at that time. As Lewis was observing Zamasu, the gods of destruction world in the 10th universe suddenly became as noisy as a vegetable market. Skinny Ribs? Besides that fat pig from the 6th universe, there's also that old guy from my universe who dares to call me that. How dare you call me that too? You're courting death. We'll talk about whether you're looking for death later. I just want to ask you if you can skip my 10th universe and directly challenge the 11th universe. You asked me to call me Skinny Ribs, but I won't. You. Rumsshi pointed at Beerus, his eyes blazing with anger and his chest rising and falling. This skinny guy is still so annoying. Seeing that Beerus and Rumsshi were about to fight, Beerus quickly stepped forward. Lord Rumsshi, calm down. It's just accepting Lewis' challenge. Just agree to it. What's the big deal? Rumsshi couldn't help but roll his eyes at what Jivas said. If you were asked to become Lewis' stepping stone, would you still say that? But... come on then. Rumsshi knew there was no escaping this challenge. After all the gods of destruction before him were played by Lewis. Excuse me, Lord Rummus. Lewis smiled and gave Whis a look. Whis nodded and was about to look at Kes, who also nodded. The two siblings were preparing to fly into the sky to set up the void battlefield. Sudden. The staff in Whis's hand suddenly lit up. The power of the 2nd level of the divine realm. Whis' pupils shrank sharply and he blurted out. Whis, what's wrong? Everyone was stunned. What is the power of the 2nd level of the realm of God? Besides, isn't it just the power of the 2nd level of the God realm? Is there any need to be so surprised? The two candidates for gods of destruction possess this level of power, not to mention Beerus and Rooms, the two real gods of destruction. Lord Beerus, a candidate for gods of destruction level master has appeared in our 7th universe. Whis checked with his staff and said hurriedly. What? Beerus was shocked. When did his universe have such a master? Not only Beerus was startled, but Lewis was also startled. Lewis himself is at the 2nd level of the divine realm, and he knows what the 2nd level of the divine realm power is. According to the plot of Dragon Ball, such a master should not appear in this time period. Did something big happen in the 7th universe? Soon, Beerus also thought of this. Both he and Lewis have left the 7th universe, and this kind of master has appeared in the 7th universe. If it is those guys who destroyed the universe, then the old Supreme Kai Innocent will be dead. Once the old Supreme Kai and Asin die, then he will be dead too. Beerus yelled, Louis, let's go back. Okay, let's go back. Louis nodded, he turned his head and looked at Rumsshi, Lord Rumsshi, something happened to our 7th universe. Let's spar again next time we have a chance. I will withdraw first. After saying that, Louis took Taisai, Beerus and Whis and used instant transmission to disappear on the spot. Rumsshi was stunned by the speed at which Louis and the others disappeared. Didn't you say you wanted to have a competition? Didn't you say you wanted to use me as a stepping stone? Why did he suddenly run away again? Wrong. A master from the 2nd level of the Divine Realm. Another candidate for Gods of Destruction level master has appeared in the 7th universe. Impossible, how can there be so many masters in the 7th universe? Namzi is so envious and jealous. Zamasu next to him ignored Rumshi's expression and kept looking at the place where Louis disappeared. I also want to ask what you think of humans. Zamasu muttered to himself, then shook his head slightly and returned to the calm demeanor that belonged to a Supreme Kai. As for Kes, she felt a little strange. She found that Whis had been hesitant to speak since he came to the 10th universe, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know how to start. The 7th universe, the Supreme Kai world. The picture played on the crystal ball, the 4 figures dressed in black attacked Son Goku and Vegeta frantically. 4 masters with a combat power of 10 billion ganged up on Son Goku and his partner, and they were completely unable to withstand it. Under the impact of the powerful force, the Galactic Patrol headquarters exploded violently and completely collapsed. Fortunately, Louis once made a wish to Shenron, allowing Saiyan to survive in the sky. So Son Goku and Vegeta can survive in the universe. Son Goku and his companion were seriously injured by the 4 Zangjias. They took King Vegeta away. After eating the senzu beans, the two returned to the original battlefield to continue fighting. The power of Son Goku and Vegeta also began to surge as they were seriously injured again and again. Son Goku's power skyrocketed from 2.5 billion combat power to 3 billion. Vegeta's power skyrocketed from 2.4 billion combat power to 2.8 billion. However, the two of them were still no match for Zangia and his 4 companions. After all, the others used dark power and their strength exceeded 10 billion. Son Goku and the other man were severely injured and ran away, but then came back. Even if Zangia and his 4 companions had a combat power of over 10 billion, they would not be able to do anything about it. The two sides remained in a stalemate. Soon, Bojack couldn't stand it anymore and he started to take action. Asin squatted on the ground, looking at the picture on the crystal ball, his 2 little fists clenched tightly. Ancestor, the most powerful guy is about to take action. The old Supreme Kai remained silent, and he also became nervous at this time. Once the strongest Bojack takes action, the North Galaxy may collapse. At this time, a bright light appeared on the crystal ball. It was Jebit who appeared next to Son Goku and Vegeta. He handed 2 earrings to Son Goku and Vegeta, said something, and then disappeared. Soon, Son Goku and Vegeta put the earrings on. A stream of colorful light shot up into the dark universe starry sky. My goodness, the fusion warriors are about to appear. As for Louis, if he continues to let Whis use the shuttle cube to go back to the 7th universe, the speed will be too slow. Louis directly used instant transmission. After all, he could use Supreme Kai level instant transmission. As long as you have the coordinates, you can appear directly at the location of the coordinates. Louis led everyone directly to the barrier of the 10th universe and broke the barrier of the universe with one punch. After jumping out of the 10th universe, it moved to the position of the 7th universe and broke the barrier of the 7th universe again. After Louis jumped into the 7th universe, he used instant transmission to go directly to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. As soon as I arrived at the original location of the Galaxy headquarters, I saw a handsome guy with colorful lights on him. Veget. Chapter 90. The planet where the Galactic Patrol's headquarters is located has collapsed. Jack, the Galactic King. All the living things on it died. The entire star field was filled with a bloody smell and all kinds of violent energies, as if it were the domain of a killing god, making people's scalps numb just by looking at it. Dark place. Tova held a staff in her hand and observed everything that was happening outside. I originally wanted to let my test subject take action, but I didn't expect that Bojack and his 5 men were quite capable. Tawa smiled slightly when she saw Son Goku and his partner being beaten up by Zangia and his 4 companions. Her purpose of coming here is to kill the Saiyan clan, and then go to Earth to bring Tais and Louis back. At that time, Demi-Cooler and the 4 great demons of the dark world will take action themselves. If they can't take Lewis away, can't they kill a small mortal? As long as they kill all the Saiyans and then kill Taisai, their mission will be accomplished. In this case, Lewis will definitely turn evil due to anger. Once Lewis turns evil, he will awaken his previous memories, and he will definitely return to the Dark Demon Realm camp. Tao looked at the outside world, even though Son Goku and Vegeta kept disappearing and recovering. The power of these two people is still increasing, but compared with Zangia and others who use dark power, it is still far behind. These two people are destined to be unable to save the Saiyan clan, and they will die at the hands of Zangia and the other 4. Soon, Tova saw Bojack about to take action again. Hehe, Lord Lewis, don't blame me, I'm also thinking about your dark demon world. In the dark, Tova covered her rosy little mouth and laughed seductively. Sudden, a figure appeared outside, handed 2 earrings to Son Goku and Vegeta, said something to the 2, and then disappeared. Following right on, Son Goku both wear earrings at the same time. A stream of colorful light shot up into the sky, and its vast power swept across the entire star field and spread to every corner of the 7th universe. All the Z fighters on the Earth looked up. It was the presence of Vegeta and Son Goku. On the King Kai planet, King Kai, who fell into despair from surprise, saw the scene at the galaxy headquarters and his body trembled. This power. Power at the level of a candidate gods of destruction. Shorty, what's going on with this power? Did Lord Kai take action? Hurry up and speak. The other 3 kings shouted anxiously. It's Lord Supreme Kai who has taken action. Our universe is saved. The shorty clenched his fists, his face flushed with excitement. The 3 kings were startled at first, thought for a long time, and suddenly shouted excitedly, Supreme Kai adult. The legendary Supreme Kai-sama. Shorty, you're not going to lie to me, are you? This power is so strong, it must be the legendary Supreme Kai who can possess such powerful strength. At the same time, in the darkness of the Galactic Patrol headquarters, Tova was stunned. How is this possible? These 2 mortals can actually burst out with such powerful strength. It's over. The extermination plan of the Saiyan clan. Just when Tova was disappointed, she suddenly saw 4 figures appearing outside. They were Lewis, Taisai, Beerus, and Whis. Ha ha ha, they actually came back. Tova's originally disappointed expression suddenly turned into surprise. She thought she had to go to Earth and kill all of Taisa's relatives on Earth before she could lure Lewis over. As a result, before this plan was implemented, Lewis was lured back. It seems that her Lord Lewis really values the Saiyan clan. Although she was surprised, Tova didn't dare to stay here for too long. After all, Whis and Beerus were back. So Tova waved her staff, opened a space crack, and quickly escaped from here. Then it was the turn of the 5 great demons to appear. Outside world, the original location of the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Lewis and his 4 companions suddenly appeared in the starry sky, and as soon as they appeared, they saw a handsome guy. Veget. Lewis stared closely at Vegeto in front of him. Vegeto wore Patara earrings on both ears, an orange short-sleeved vest, and a dark blue Kamehameha uniform on the outside. Especially his mysterious and confident smile, which is exactly the same as Vegeto in the anime. Colorful streamer. Gorgeous and dazzling. So cool. This handsome guy is really as handsome as me. Lewis was so excited that tears couldn't help but flow from the corners of his mouth. Taisai next to him was stunned. What happened to her, Lewis? His expression was scary. Beerus and Whis were also a little confused. Isn't it just a piece of trash with the power of the 2nd level of the Divine Realm? Is there any need to get so excited? Everyone had no idea what position Vegeto held in Lewis' heart. This is Vegeto. In the anime, whenever the situation becomes life and death, Vegeto or Gogeta appears and can quickly turn the situation around. As for whether they can eventually kill their opponents by combining their powers. As for whether he has a wild personality. Lewis doesn't care about all that. After all, being handsome is a lifelong thing. Vegeto is really handsome. Lewis, what's going on with this kid? Why does he look so familiar? Beerus looked at Vegeto and said. At first, this newly appeared master of the 2nd level of the Divine Realm really scared him. The power of the 2nd level of the Divine Realm is already capable of destroying the universe. If the 7th universe is really gone, then the old Supreme Kai Innocent will definitely be dead. The lives of Supreme Kai and gods of destruction are linked together, so he will definitely not be able to escape. Fortunately, the seventh universe was not destroyed. Returning here, he naturally saw those 5 people full of dark aura. He didn't rush to attack, mainly because he felt that Vegito looked a little familiar. Hearing Beerus' words, Louis suppressed his excitement. Didn't you notice the earring on Vegito's ear? Vegito? Earrings? Beerus was stunned, and soon he noticed the earring on Vegito's ear. Potara earrings. Fusion warrior. Beerus naturally knew the function of the Potara earrings. The old Supreme Kai got together with the old witch fusion because of the Potara earrings. What's going on? Who are those 2 guys from fusion? And why do they have Supreme Kai's earrings? Beerus was furious. Doesn't the possession of the Potara earrings mean that those 2 people have come into contact with Supreme Kai? If these 2 people have evil intentions, wouldn't Supreme Kai be doomed? Supreme Kai is dead, so he is dead too. Chapter 91. The more Beerus thought about it, the more scared he became. A purple power emerged from his body, and an aura of destruction swept across the entire 7th universe. Is there any need to think about it? It must have been old Supreme Kai's idea. Louis folded his arms, kept looking forward, and said lightly, "Didn't you see the dark aura of those 5 people? We have been away from the 7th universe for so long. If we can't get back, then the 7th universe will be finished. Without us, old Supreme Kai had no choice but to resort to this last resort. Didn't you see how strong that fusion warrior was? With Vegito here, Bojack and the other 5 won't be a problem. Also, you know those 2 guys from fusion." Louis also recognized the identities of Bojack and the others. He didn't expect that these 5 people would appear here before the Cell arc was even staged. Hearing this, Beerus nodded. It was indeed true. This was most likely the old guy's masterpiece. The anger in Beerus' heart disappeared immediately, but when he heard that he knew the 2 people from fusion, he asked in confusion, "I know them too? Who are they?" Louis said unhappily, "It's Kakarot and Vegeta." Vegito, his name is so special, and his handsome appearance combines the characteristics of Kakarot and Vegeta. No one else has noticed this, it's incredible. It's them too. Beerus was stunned. Son Goku and Vegeta are Louis's tribesmen, and during the time he stayed on Earth, he knew that Son Goku and Vegeta had good talents. It was these 2 who killed Cooler half a year ago. Unexpectedly, after fusion, their power would soar to the 2nd level of the Divine Realm. This is power at the level of candidate gods of destruction. Okay, Vegito is about to take action. Louis folded his arms and looked forward. To be honest, he was looking forward to the performance of the handsome Vegito. Crash! Crash! In the dark starry sky of the universe, a golden aura was emanating from Vegito's body. Super Saiyan First State. Power, the 2nd level of God's realm. This force is so strong. Vegito floated in the starry sky, with the power to destroy the world surging in his body. Clench your fist. The void vibrates. This power is so fascinating. I don't know if Louis is as powerful as this one. Vegito suppressed his excitement and glanced around again. The Galactic Patrol headquarters had disappeared long ago, and most of the Saiyan clan had died in this battle. Full of murderous intent. You, what's wrong with you? Why can you 2 fuse together? Gago was stunned, terrified by Vegito's power. Now it's my turn, die. Vegito's tone was very cold. He disappeared in an instant and appeared behind Gago. Throw out a punch. Endless mighty power rushed out like a prehistoric dragon and slammed into Geejaya. Geejaya had no time to react and exploded instantly. This is not over yet. The remaining fist force swept across thousands of miles, and all the broken star fragments floating in the starry sky were destroyed. Gurgle. When Zangia and others saw this, they all swallowed their saliva. Hurry up and get to me. Bojack came to the 3 of them at some point, and was shocked by Vegito's power. I originally wanted to give those 2 Super Saiyans a good beating, but who could have thought that they would fuse together, and their power would skyrocket to an unbelievable level. Geejaya was no match for him and was killed instantly in one move. Bojack didn't know that villains would always die because they talked too much. He really regretted not killing the 2 Super Saiyans at the first opportunity. After hearing Bojack's order, Zonga and the other 2 attacked Vegito despite their fear. The main reason is that they know Bojack's character very well. If they don't obey Bojack's orders, the end will be terrible. Butchin's body was filled with black aura, and he turned into a black lightning and appeared next to Vegito. A punch and a kick. It was like a violent storm, so fast that it was completely invisible to the naked eye. Soon, Zangia and Biju joined the battle and the four of them became entangled. Hundreds of billions of combat forces were wantonly stimulated, and the overwhelming air waves rushed towards the surroundings like a grey wolf. Wow! 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 In an instant, the starry sky was filled with afterimages. Even though Vegito was fighting back and forth with them, if you observe carefully, you will find that Vegito was just walking Zangia and the other three like a dog. "You're so slow, have you not eaten?" Finally, Vegito sneered. He dodged left and right, and the attacks of Zangia and the other two failed to hit him at all. Hateful! The dark power in Zangia exploded wildly, and his originally orange hair turned jet black. Like an ancient witch. Her breath is getting more and more terrifying. Nearly 20 billion powers gushed out, and a black energy bomb condensed in her hand. Damn Saiyan monkey, die! The energy bombs on both hands expanded to thousands of meters. Zangia threw it with all his might. Crash! The violent energy bomb set off an endless storm. The planets in the entire northern galaxy were shaking and crumbling, as if they were about to explode in the next second. That's it. Vegito laughed. If it weren't for fusion, they would have definitely run away. But Vegito's eyes focused, and the second level of power of the divine realm gathered on his fist, and a silver light bloomed on his fist. The aura on his body is getting stronger and stronger. Like a dazzling sun. Moved. Facing the incoming energy bomb, Vegito punched out and collided with it. Break it for me. Snap. The crisp sound resounded throughout the universe. The energy bomb weighing over 1,000 meters suddenly disintegrated and turned into starlight and dissipated in Mount Sumeru. How is this possible? Zangia hovered in the starry sky, stunned. Sudden. A black shadow streaked across the starry sky, and Biju appeared next to Vegito's head, wanting to launch a sneak attack. Bang! Vegito caught Biju's fist and said sarcastically, "It turns out that teasing others is so satisfying. I wanted you to continue to experience the feeling of being teased by others. But..." He glanced into the distance and saw Bojack running away. "You killed my people and you want to escape like this? Snort! Go to hell and accompany my people." Vegito took hold of Biju's fist and squeezed it hard. Ah! Biju's fist suddenly exploded, and he let out a heart-wrenching cry of pain. Following right on. As soon as the shock wave exploded from Vegito's hands, Biju was instantly blasted into pieces. A master with a combat power of hundreds of billions died just like that. You should not come over." Zangia's body was filled with a dark aura, and her face was full of despair. They never expected that the trash they had beaten so badly before would suddenly become so powerful. What she didn't expect was that Bojack would abandon them and choose to run away alone. Chapter 92. At this time, Vegeta was completely controlled by Vegeta's personality. He was like a god of death, killing Bojack's men in various ways. In the starry sky, after blasting Biju into pieces, Vegito looked back at Zangia, who looked like a witch. Being stared at by those cold eyes, Zangia felt cold all over. Sudden crash. Vegito turned into a beam of golden light and flew towards Bojack. Zangia and Butchin looked at each other and both breathed a sigh of relief. They thought Vegito really let them go and chose to chase Bojack. Suddenly. Wonderful ocean. A dark blue key blast attacked from a distance. No. Zangia and the other man cried out in despair. Boom. Just like a huge star explosion, Zangia and the other person's bodies twisted instantly, and then turned into a wisp of dust, completely disappearing in the starry sky of the universe. Damn Saiyan! Bojack, who was fleeing into the distance, turned back and saw this scene, and was furious. That person was his subordinate who had been with him for thousands of years, yet he just died at the hands of that fusion warrior. But compared with his own life, it doesn't matter if Zangia and the others die. As long as he can escape, he will become strong and come back for revenge. At this time, "Can you escape?" A voice came from the front. Bojack's pupils shrank sharply, and he turned his head quickly. All he saw was Vegito, with his finger on his forehead, appearing in front of him. How come you are so fast?" What Bojack didn't know was that Vegito was using instant transmission, and as long as he could sense his aura, Vegito could appear beside him at any time. Please let me go. Bojack was extremely frightened. Why do you want to kill our Saiyan clan? Vegito said coldly. Originally, Son Goku received news from King Kai that Bojack and his men were killing people at the northern edge of the galaxy. As a result, they arrived at the Galactic Patrol headquarters within a few days and carried out various massacres on the Saiyan clan. It must not be that simple. Tova told me to do this. Bojack was shaking and looked very scared. In fact, he was really scared. The unparalleled power of Vegito is simply not something that a mortal can possess. Even if he uses the dark power, he probably won't be able to last more than half a round against Vegito. But Bojack knew that this man would not let him go, and he had secretly begun to mobilize the dark forces. At this time, Louis, who was far away, wanted to continue watching the show, but he heard Bojack mention Tova. Louis, Beerus, and Whis looked at each other, each with a very solemn expression. Walk. Louis and his companions disappeared in an instant, and appeared next to Vegito the next second. Louis. Vegito was slightly stunned. Good opportunity, go die. Bojack noticed that Vegito had let his guard down and suddenly he got furious, a cold and evil aura erupting from him. The combat power has exceeded 50 billion. 50 billion combat power, that is equivalent to Kid Buu's power. It is shocking that Bojack used the dark power and broke through to this level. Then, an extremely dark shock wave burst out from Bojack's hand. The starry sky is trembling. It was as if a dark tide was rolling, and the entire northern galaxy was shrouded in this dark aura. Facing the oncoming dark energy, Vegito didn't even turn his head, but kept looking at Louis, as if asking, "When did you come back?" Bojack was delighted by Vegito's reaction. His power was dark energy. Vegito was very strong, but he was so careless that he would definitely suffer the consequences. Just as Bojack imagined that Vegito was killed by him, a voice echoed in the starry sky. Destroy. Louis raised his index finger and tapped lightly at the incoming dark energy. Buzz. The dark energy turned into a streak of light and disappeared in an instant. The dark atmosphere of the entire northern Milky Way quickly dissipated like the receding sea, and the starry sky of the universe became deathly silent. Who are you? Bojack was stunned. He thought Vegito would die in his sneak attack, but who would have thought that this man who suddenly appeared would actually take his attack with just one finger? So horrible. So horrible. This guy must be more powerful than Vegito. Bojack's body was shaking and he kept backing away. Idiot. The substitute gods of destruction didn't even know about it, and yet he dared to take action in front of Louis. Vegito glanced at Bojack and squeezed out these two words. Wow, it seems like Vegeta is online from the beginning to the end, right? Louis nodded to Beget, then looked at Bojack and said coldly, "Who did you just say?" Tova. Beerus' eyes were also very cold. Last time, Louis and Whis caused a big commotion in the Dark Demon Realm because of Tova. Unexpectedly, Tova was the one causing trouble again. Whis looked at Bojack. What did Tova want to do? Yes, she let us out just to destroy your Saiyan clan. Bojack used the dark power, and his originally dark face turned pale. The pressure from this group of people was too great. Just to kill my Saiyan clan. Louis and Whis looked at each other. Was this to avenge the last time they caused trouble in the Dark Demon world? Apart from this, Louis and the others really couldn't think of any other reason. If you want to wipe out his Saiyan clan just because of this, then it would be a bit of an overreaction. This won't kill me, is it just to irritate me? Louis muttered. But I have to admit that Louis was indeed angry. After being tricked by Tova last time, he broke into the Dark Demon world and almost killed Whis. As a result, this time Tova killed most of the Saiyan clan in order to provoke him. Damn Tova! Boom! A violent force exploded from Louis' body, squeezing the space, causing the space to vibrate violently. Bojack was terrified. He couldn't sense the other party's strength, but this momentum was definitely not something that ordinary people could possess. Vegito was definitely not as good as him. I have revealed Tao's purpose. Please let me go. Let you go. Louis glanced at Bojack, raised his hand, and a purple energy condensed in his hand. Vegito next to him tensed up all over, he felt a fatal threat from Louis' power. Go to hell. Destroy. Louis said lightly, and moved his little hand slightly, and the destructive energy in his hand instantly hit Bojack. Bojack didn't even have time to shout before he disappeared into the starry sky. Thais, who was next to Lewis, had no expression at all when she saw this. After following Lewis for so many years, she had long been accustomed to all this. Chapter 93. King Kai Star. Ha 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 ha. King Kai jumped up from the ground excitedly. Even if he jumped with all his strength, he couldn't jump more than half a meter high. He was really worthy of being called a short guy. Shorty, what's wrong? Did Supreme Kai show up and defeat Bojack? Hurry up and tell me, I'm so anxious. The other three kings sounded very anxious. It's not the Supreme Kai who showed up, it's the alternate gods of destruction who's back. King Kai's planet was made smaller by Beerus, and the other three kings also knew about the gods of destruction. But candidate gods of destruction. When did Lord Beerus accept an apprentice? Shorty, what's going on? The other three kings no longer care about Bojack. They are more concerned about when Beerus will accept an apprentice. You don't know this. King Kai was in a good mood and started talking to the other three kings about Lewis. Supreme Kai World. Ah Seeing squatted on the grass, looking at the crystal ball, and said excitedly, Grandfather, this fusion warrior is too strong, right? The old Supreme Kai raised his chin slightly and said proudly, this is the power of a fusion warrior. You still have a lot to learn, Junior. Yes, yes, yes. Asin nodded vigorously, his eyes full of excitement. With Vegito here, Bojack is dead. Sudden. There were 4 more figures on the crystal ball. Ancestor, Lord Beerus, and the others are back. When Xin saw Beerus and the other 3, his face flushed and he jumped up from the ground with excitement. Soon. Bojack is seen being sabotaged by Lewis again. Axon was so excited that he was at a loss for words and clenched his fists. Lewis is too strong. No, I will take Lewis with me to completely destroy Majin Buu. Back then, he took advantage of Babadai's sealing of Majin Buu to attack Babadai, but the sealed Majin Buu was also stolen by Babadai's son Babadai. Asin will not be able to sleep or eat until Majin Buu is killed. When the old Supreme Kai saw Beerus and the other man, he was relieved. These 2 guys are finally back. God knows how much pressure he has been under during this period. Asin knows nothing, and with Beerus and Lewis not around, he is the only one he can rely on. Fortunately, 2 powerful Super Saiyans appeared in the 7th universe. They used the Patara earrings to fuse together. Even if Beerus and the others couldn't come back, Bojack didn't have to worry about Vegito. But if the Dark Demon Realm attacks the 7th universe again, even Vegito may not be able to stop it. The universe cannot be without the gods of destruction for long, and the timely return of Beerus and the others made the old Supreme Kai feel truly at ease. The King of Old Street looked at Lewis in the crystal ball again. Lewis had been away from the 7th universe for more than half a year and was on a universe challenge journey. Now see Lewis again. Lewis' normal strength is about to break through to the 2nd level of the Divine Realm. Old Supreme Kai knew that Lewis would transform again. If Lewis transformed again, his power would most likely break through to the 3rd level of the Divine Realm. Besides, every move of Lewis is full of temptation, and he can launch attack and defense at any time. This is to integrate the fighting consciousness into the body and form an instinct of the body. This is what KS saw in Lewis before, and now the old Supreme Kai sees it too. Ignore, perfect freedom, erase. If Lewis uses these powers again. Oh my goodness! This kid is a monster. Northern Milky Way. Various violent energies remain in the dark starry sky. Under the impact of tens of billions of energies, no planet in this star field could survive, and all were reduced to ashes. After Bojack and his 5 companions were killed, Lewis and his 5 companions hovered in the starry sky. Vegito kept looking at Lewis. The destructive energy that Lewis had just released made him instinctively fearful. He now had the power of both Son Goku and Vegeta, and this was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. His strength is the multiplication of 2 people. Possessing such exaggerated power, he actually felt a fatal threat from Lewis. This. Vegito shook his head and said, Lewis, where have you been for the past 6 months? After killing Cooler, Lewis said he would disappear for a while, and he ended up disappearing for half a year. I went to other universes. Lewis glanced around. The galactic headquarters has disappeared, and Saiyan is almost dead. That damn Bojack destroyed it directly. It was such a good thing for him. Going to another universe? What are the other universes? Vegito was confused, but seeing the way Lewis looked around, he said with a bit of sadness, almost all of our people are dead. I'm really PD off. Beerus was also furious. His universe had finally managed to escape from the bottom of the human average ranking thanks to the Saiyans. As a result, we were back to the time before liberation. It's so special. Beerus's curse words contained a lot of ma and were very ugly. Beerus' reaction was even more intense than Vegito and Lewis, as if Lewis and Vegito were fake Saiyans and he was the real Saiyan. Ignoring Beerus barking, Lewis patted Vegito on the shoulder and said, "You guys are already very powerful. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid our 7th universe would be doomed." Son Goku's personality took over Vegito, and he was stunned. "Do you know me? He is in fusion state now, why does Lewis know him?" Lewis was speechless for a while. He knew with his toes that it was Son Goku who took over Vegito's body. Only that fool could have such a silly personality. "I am the alternate gods of destruction," Lewis said lightly. Vegito, Son Goku, suddenly realized. Oh yes. It was Supreme Kai who asked Jebbit to give him the Potara earrings, so there was no reason why Lewis wouldn't recognize the earrings in his ears. Vegeta in Vegito's body rolled his eyes, "What a fool. Lewis, most of our clan members are dead, let's go find the Dragon Ball." Vegeta took over the body, said. "At this time, don't we have Whis? We don't need to look for Dragon Ball." Taisai looked at Whis and said, "Whis, can you restore this place?" Whis shook his head, "No, it's been more than 2 minutes. I can't do anything." With his strength, he could only go back 2 minutes at most, and there was nothing he could do now. Vegito said helplessly, "Then we can only go find the Dragon Ball. Although I am depressed, fortunately I still have Dragon Ball as my last hope." "Don't be impatient. Have you forgotten that I also know the rules of time?" Lewis waved his hand, "Let me try." Chapter 94. Speaking of the rules of time, Tais, Beerus, and Whis knew this, but Vegito didn't. Vegito asked in confusion, "What are the rules of time?" "Time rules." Lewis looked at Vegito and smiled, "The rules of time can be said to be a kind of energy, just like the rules of destruction I just used, but this power is stronger than chi." Vegito smacked his lips. When Lewis just destroyed Bojack, his purple power also made his scalp tingle. Lewis also said that the rules of time are the same as the purple power, and it has 2 strongest powers. How powerful must this guy be? "Lewis, can you really?" Beerus looked over. "I know you know the rules of time, but it's been half an hour since the Galactic Patrol headquarters was destroyed." Whis paused and continued, "And the scope involved this time is very wide, far beyond the time house you created before. Can you really do it?" As soon as he finished speaking, Whis' heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this guy has improved again? How come I don't know? He stared at Lewis. "Wow, please stop looking at me like that, my sister Tais is still here." Lewis was frightened by Whis' look, "I'm not gay." "Tais. Whis. Let me try it first. If it doesn't work, we'll go find Dragon Ball." Lewis' face suddenly turned serious and he flew to the starry sky ahead. "Veget, rules are actually a kind of energy after all. As long as you are strong enough, you can ignore them." Lewis was hovering alone in the starry sky ahead, and he looked back at Vegito. The 2 people inside Vegito's body are the protagonists of Dragon Ball. If they are afraid of the rules, their future training will be difficult. In fact, Lewis is not worried about Son Goku, but about Vegeta. The Millennium number 2 in this time period is still too young, and is far from growing up to the point where Vegeta dares to fight with Beerus after Bulma was slapped by Beerus in the anime. "Watch this." Lewis hovered in the starry sky and became serious. Hearing Lewis' words, Vegito came back to his senses and looked straight ahead. Beerus, Tais, and Whis also looked towards the figure in the starry sky. Buzz! A golden light appeared on Lewis, entering full Super Saiyan power. "Lewis will also be at full power?" Vegito was stunned for a moment, then he quickly shook his head. It was not surprising that Lewis could use full power. He was now more curious about what Lewis said, that as long as the power was strong enough, he could ignore the rules. Buzz! A flash of silver light flashed across Lewis' body, and Lewis' golden hair was stained with a layer of silver. Gold and silver meet. Under the influence of the silver light, time around them became disrupted. "Go back in time." Lewis' eyes narrowed, and he raised one hand with 5 fingers spread out. The time rules in the body began to riot. Crash! The silver light on his body formed a thick beam of light that shot up into the sky. With Lewis as the center, the silver light column began to spread in all directions, and the entire center of the northern Milky Way was quickly dyed silver, as if the god of time had descended to the earth. Time is distorted, and the time in the star field billions of miles around the Galactic Patrol headquarters begins to slowly go backwards. It can really reverse time on a large scale. Whis' pupils shrank sharply. This little BD actually secretly cultivated the rules of time to the same level as his own rule-breaking. Beerus cursed. He had never seen this little BD practice the rules of time. Whis quickly protected everyone. Drink! In the starry sky ahead, Lewis shouted, and the rules of time erupted again. With the Galactic Patrol headquarters as the center, time in the star field spanning billions of miles is rapidly moving backwards. Grains of dust form sand, sand forms stones, stones form rocks. The scene was reversed, and soon, the planets destroyed by Vegeta and Zonga reappeared one by one in the starry sky of the universe. And the galaxy headquarters has recovered. Jack is resurrected. The Galaxy King is resurrected. All Saiyans are resurrected. The living reappears again. Miracle. It's a miracle. Unlike the calm expressions of Beerus and the other two, Vegeta stood there in a daze. He was stunned. Sudden. He closed his eyes and replayed the scene in his mind. Rules are also a type of energy. If two different energies collide, which energy will win? Soon, Vegeta opened his eyes suddenly. Whis and Beerus looked at each other and nodded. These two guys are very smart. It's not that Vegeta understood the rules of time from the time rules performed by Lewis, but that Vegeta understood the method to crack the rules of time from it. Only fists are the hard truth. Vegeta clenched his fists. It was just as Lewis said, no matter whether your power was rules or chi, as long as you were strong enough, you could ignore it all. Vegeta regained his confident smile. Okay, stop arguing. Bojack shows up again, let's kill them. Lewis came back here and performed a time reversal. He immediately escaped and returned to normal. Seeing this, Whis hurriedly helped Lewis recover his strength. Vegeta turned his head and looked into the distance, and sure enough, Bojack and his men were heading towards the Galactic Patrol headquarters. A murderous intent erupted from him. Vegeta disappeared from the spot, and 5 seconds later he returned here. When looking into the distance again, only a few clouds of blood mist could be seen remaining there. When did you cultivate the rules of time to the same level as breaking the rules? At this time, Whis spoke. Half a year ago, Lewis's time rules were far inferior to his breaking rules. If the rules are divided into 10 levels, then Lewis's rule breaking has reached the 5th level, and his previous rules of time and space have only reached the 2nd level at most. It's okay to use the 2nd level time and space rules to deal with those weaker than him, but if you want to use it to deal with masters at the gods of destruction level, it's impossible. This is also the reason why Whis said before that Lewis's space-time rules are weak. No wonder you're getting better and better at sneaking attacks on other people's peaches. It turns out that your time rules have become more powerful again. Beerus said helplessly. Hehe, don't worry about it. I'm a genius and I have so many secrets. Lewis put his hands on his hips and laughed. In fact, he signed in once again in the past 6 months. Sign in front of gods of destruction Sidra, reward, time and space erasure, prototype. This move is more terrifying than erasing, prototype. Erasure can only erase things in the current time and space, but time and space erasure is a magical skill that can kill the enemy in all time and space at once. Because of this move, Lewis' time and space rules skyrocketed to the current level. But this move was really too perverted. To erase a person from all time and space, one needed powerful support. Currently, his power in the 2nd level of the divine realm was not enough. In addition, the rules of time and space also need to be practiced sufficiently. Lewis guessed that he might need to cultivate his strength to the angel realm and cultivate the rules of time and space to the 8th level. In other words, he could only stare blankly now. Lewis really wanted to say, you rewarded me with skills that I can't use, system, you. Chapter 95. Beerus and the other guy rolled their eyes at Lewis' explanation. But then again, compared to Lewis' other secrets, his sudden cultivation of the rules of time and space to this level is not really a secret. At this time, after Vegeta killed Bojack and the other 5 again, he flew back here. Lewis, I want to fight you. Vegeta looked at Lewis with excitement. Vegeta knew the gap between himself and Lewis before, and he didn't dare to fight with Lewis at all. As for Son Goku, he wanted to spar with Lewis, but Lewis completely ignored him. Now that he has been fused into Vegito, his strength has skyrocketed to an unprecedented level. Although he has no way to break the rules and time rules, he might be able to fight against Lewis. Vegito is eager to fight Lewis. Then let's try a few moves. Lewis smiled. When Vegito transformed into a Super Saiyan at full power, his strength broke through to the second level of the realm of God. What if he transformed into Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3? After all, Gotenks can transform into Super Saiyan 3, so there is no reason why Vegito can't. Lewis also wanted to see how powerful Vegito really was. Then we have a deal. You are not allowed to use that thing to break the rules and time rules. Although Vegito knew how to deal with these forces, his current pure power was not strong enough, so he could not ignore them for the time being. Don't worry. Lewis waved his hands. If he used all this strength, it would be a bit of bullying. You'd better use all your strength, otherwise you won't be able to withstand my attack. Vegito was stunned. How did Lewis know that he hadn't yet unleashed his full strength? Stop being in a daze, come on. Then I'll use all my strength and show you. Vegito returned to normal with a very calm expression. Seeing that the two were about to fight, Whis quickly set up an energy shield and took Ties and Beerus away. Whis was like an old mother protecting her child. She was really afraid that the power that would be unleashed from the fight between Lewis and the other man would shock Ties and the others to death. Why don't you just take Taisai away? Why are you taking me away? Beerus said unhappily. Did he really think he was a weakling like Taisai? Taisai covered her little mouth and laughed. That, ha ha ha, it's just a subconscious reaction. Lord Beerus, don't worry about it. Whis was indeed a little embarrassed, mainly because Lewis often fought with others and he was the one who always protected Ties. His action just now was also a subconscious reaction. After all, protecting one cub is also protecting, and protecting two cubs is also protecting. Whis changed the subject and said, Lord Beerus, Lewis said that Vegito hasn't yet unleashed his full strength. What do you think? Who knows these Saiyans? Beerus curled his lips. These Saiyans only need one transformation to increase their strength dozens of times. Maybe they can transform 3 or 4 times like Frieza. As soon as the words fell, the space shook violently, and a vast force swept across the starry sky. Fortunately, Whis had set up an energy shield in advance, otherwise the Galactic Patrol headquarters, which had just been restored, would have exploded again. Far away. Boom. The space is shaking more and more violently. A powerful force exploded from Vegito, like a prehistoric beast, with a horrifying aura. Pulled by the incomparable force, the ions floating in the void gathered together to form tortuous arcs. Crackling. Countless arcs of electricity danced on Vegito's body, and his eyes were very calm. Could this kid really transform into Super Saiyan 3? Seeing this, Lewis' eyelids twitched violently. Drink. On the opposite side, Vegito clenched his fists, releasing the power in his body continuously. Ha! The vein on Vegito's forehead bulged. Boom! An overwhelming sense of power burst out, like a reservoir that had been accumulating water for thousands of years releasing its water, with turbulent waves, one after another. With Vegito as the center, the surrounding light was absorbed in an instant, and the next second, a dazzling white light burst out. A huge golden ape flashed in Vegito's eyes, his hair began to grow longer, and his eyebrows began to disappear. It's Super Saiyan 3. Seeing this, Lewis blurted out. At the same time, the other side. The peak of the second level of God's realm. Feeling this power, Beerus and Whis were stunned. This power is exactly the same as Lewis' power. He is also at the peak of the second level of the God realm, and is only one step away from breaking through to the third level of the God realm. Lewis, come on. A golden light burst out from Vegito's body, and Vegito's entire appearance changed. Eyebrows disappear. Waist-length golden hair. The 2 earrings dangled on Vegito's ears. So handsome. Lewis swallowed his saliva. Damn, this handsome guy doesn't even want to let me live. No, I'm going to beat you up. Lewis gritted his teeth, he couldn't stand someone being more handsome than him. He entered Super Saiyan full power, and his strength also broke through to the peak of the second level of the divine realm. Crash! Lewis turned into a flash of lightning, cut through the void, and rushed forward with a punch. Well done! Vegito laughed as he finally saw Louis' movements clearly. Clench your fists. Fists collide. Bang. A halo flashed from the fist and exploded in all directions in a circular shape. The powerful force swept up a 1,000-layer starry sky storm. The space is disordered. So strong. Vegito was knocked back thousands of meters, his fist was numb and painful. Louis was also knocked back thousands of meters, and his blood began to boil. Chapter 96. As expected of the protagonist, Louis' eyes were full of fighting spirit. He knew that Vegito was not that simple. As he thought, Vegito could really transform into Super Saiyan 3. And also increased his strength to the same level as him. Is this genius? The one I beat up is a genius. Two golden rays of light confronted each other in the starry sky. Moved. Louis disappeared into the starry sky, and Vegito's mind suddenly tensed. In the back, Vegito moved to the side, and a fist came from behind and passed by his head. The power of the second level of the divine realm exploded in his ears. Even though it was in the starry sky, at this moment, it was as if white waves were rising into the sky and the air waves were rolling. The entire battlefield was boiling in an instant. Vegito quickly stepped back, a cold sweat breaking out on his back. What a fast speed, what a powerful force. Not fast at all, and not powerful at all. Another teasing voice sounded in my ears. Vegito's pupils shrank sharply. When? After a brief moment of distraction, Vegito came to his senses and blocked his chest with his hands. Bang! An elbow hit him in the chest, as if he was hit by a meteorite. Boom! It was as if time and space were distorting at this moment. Vegito retreated thousands of meters and held his breath. The severe pain made his head dizzy. Not good. In an instant, Louis was in front of him again, pouring rough force into his legs. Raise your foot and kick straight. Boom! Vegito was kicked in the face, his facial muscles twisted instantly, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. Hateful! Vegito slammed hard on the energy shield set up by Whis, making an earth-shaking sound. Louis, how come you are so strong? Vegito is furious. He was actually quite surprised about his new state, but more of a pleasant surprise. When he transformed into this state, his strength surged to the same level as Louis. But despite this, he easily fell into a disadvantage in his match with Louis. Why is this happening? I don't believe it. Vegito clasped his hands together, a faint blue light appeared in his palms, the pressure of the surrounding space increased rapidly, and strands of electric arcs jumped in his palms. Wonderful waves! Kamehameha cut through the starry sky, rubbing against the space, making a sizzling sound, and a series of flames lit up. The void seemed to be about to shatter. The scene was very terrifying. However, the Kamehameha that was charging straight ahead suddenly split into 3 key blasts, blasting towards Louis from 3 different directions. Interesting. In the distance, Louis' eyes condensed, he raised his hand, and a golden light was painted on his hand. Gather energy into a blade. Explode for me. A stroke in the void. A golden light flashed across the starry sky, and the 3 key blasts were chopped into pieces. Boom! There was an earth-shaking explosion in the starry sky, and a ball of fire quickly engulfed Louis' figure, followed by smoke. Inside the thick smoke, Louis hovered motionless, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Veget, you are still far behind those gods of destruction. Without even turning his head, Louis punched behind him, and the power of the second level of the realm of God exploded. Ah! Vegito, who was about to launch a sneak attack, was hit by a punch and smashed towards the energy shield again. Then a golden beam of light rose into the air from the smoke and chased towards Vegito. For a moment, the starry sky trembled, and 2 balls of golden light kept flashing in the starry sky. In just a moment, the 2 men fought hundreds of times. On the other side, Beerus shook his head, it's too far. Taisai was stunned, what do you mean too far away? Whis looked at the battle in the distance and said calmly, Lord Beerus said that Vegito is still far behind Louis. Ah! Taisai could not see the battle in the distance at all. She could only see the starry sky flashing with golden light, which was gorgeous and dazzling. Veget's attack is not concise enough, there are too many unnecessary movements, and his new state will consume a lot of physical strength. In this way, he will soon be unable to hold on. Compared to Vegito, every attack of Louis can be described as fast, fierce, and accurate. This is what Lewis has gained from challenging the first universe to the 9th universe in the past 6 months. His fighting skills have now been integrated into his body and have become an instinct. This is a battle state at the gods of destruction level. Veget's fighting skills and reactions are too weak. Even if it was Lewis half a year ago, Vegeto couldn't beat him. So with the same power, Vegeto can never be Lewis' opponent. From this we can see how important fighting skills and thinking are when one has the same level of power. This is also the reason why Whis agreed to Lewis's universe challenge journey before. The other side. Obviously, two masters of equal strength were sparring, but in front of Lewis, Vegeto was like a child and was beaten by Lewis. As time passed, Vegeto's strength began to plummet and his reactions became sluggish. It is obvious that Vegeto's physical strength can no longer keep up with his consumption. Soon, Vegeto was hit by a shockwave and a light appeared on his body, and Son Goku and Vegeta were separated instantly. After Son Goku separated, he ate senzu beans to restore his strength. He flew to Lewis and said excitedly, "Lewis, you are so powerful." He had wanted to spar with Lewis for a long time, but Lewis had always rejected him. Now, through fusion, he finally saw the power of the alternate gods of destruction level. As expected of the candidate gods of destruction, Vegeta flew over and stared at Lewis. During this competition, the two of them realized the gap between themselves and Lewis. They had the same strength, but they could not beat him. It was obvious that their combat awareness was not enough. Lewis looked at the two and smiled, "You are already very strong. If you compete with other gods of destruction candidates, you may even have a chance to beat them. Not every candidate gods of destruction has power at the peak of the second level of the realm of God. Vegeto is definitely capable of defeating the other candidate gods of destruction. But, I'm just saying there's a chance. Strength is important, but sometimes it's not important. After this, you should have realized the importance of fighting skills." Lewis flew towards Ties, saying as he flew, "The other candidates for gods of destruction have been receiving instruction from Angel. Their fighting skills are definitely not weak. Moreover, they can break the rules. As for you fusion, the only thing that is stronger than them is strength. That's why I said you just have a chance to beat them. You still have a long way to go, keep practicing hard." Son Goku and the other followed closely behind, listening to Lewis' story. Sudden. Lewis paused and said meaningfully, "Actually, Angel also taught you." Lewis was referring to the fact that Pop coached both of them. Son and Goku were stunned, they didn't understand what Lewis said at all. Lewis saw the confused expressions on Son and Goku's faces and smiled wickedly. "Okay, the tribesmen have been resurrected, you should go back and reorganize them." Lewis was so mean. He aroused other people's curiosity, and then went back to Ties without saying anything. "Hey, explain yourself clearly." Looking at Lewis back, Vegeta became furious. "Vegeta, what did Lewis mean by that? How should I know?" Vegeta said unhappily, "Let's go, the tribe members are all resurrected, let's go back and tell them about Bojack." Chapter 97. Son Goku and the others left the Starry Sky and returned to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. In the Starry Sky, only Lewis and the other three were hovering there. Lewis smiled and said, "Lord Beerus, what do you think of these two people of my clan now? I originally thought that their talents were just okay, but now it seems that their martial arts talents are even stronger than the candidate gods of destruction from other universes." Beerus' tone was very serious, "It's a pity that they don't practice dimensionality. If they did practice dimensionality, I would kind of want to take them both in as well. There is no rule in the universe that there can only be one candidate gods of destruction." Lewis rolled his eyes when he heard Beerus' words. Beerus continued, "If I only had hope in you Saions before, now after seeing Vegeto, the ranking of the 7th universe really depends on you." Lewis laughed, "Lord Beerus, let me tell you this, not only Kakarot and Vegeta can fusion, other Saions can fusion as well. With the Tempora earrings, I know other Saions can also fusion, so I said that the ranking of the 7th universe is placed on you Saions." Beerus smiled. He was in a very good mood now, as if he could see the scene of being praised by Zeno in the future. No. There are only a few pairs of Tempora earrings. If we only rely on Tempora earrings, we can only fusion a few fusion warriors at most." Lewis smiled brightly, "Lord Beerus, what do you think it would be like if I could make all Saions able to fusion?" "What?" Beerus breathed rapidly and clutched Lewis' shoulders tightly, "Is this true what you said? If the old Supreme Kai was here, he would definitely be able to guess what Lewis was talking about. Metamor star fusion technique. Well, you'll know when the time comes. Lewis kept the suspense again. He had just piqued the curiosity of Vegeto and the other two, and now he piqued Beerus' curiosity as well. In the end, nothing was said. He really is getting worse and worse. Taisai and Whis were laughing secretly on the side. Soon, the turbulent starry sky gradually calmed down. Lewis said, "Whis, Lord Beerus, did you notice that there was something wrong with Tova's actions this time? Tova released Bojack only to kill his people, but that made no sense at all. Not to mention Dragon Ball, he also knows the rules of time and can also resurrect Saiyan. Was it just to irritate me?" For some reason, Lewis always felt that something was wrong, and he suddenly had a bad feeling. "Lewis, it seems you have noticed it too." Whis looked over. "Yes, anyway, I have a bad feeling that it must not be that simple." Lewis looked at Beerus and said, "Lord Beerus, you have to be careful recently. The Dark Demon Realm can't do anything to me. I'm afraid that the Dark Demon Realm may do something to you. Don't worry, as long as no one above Angel's level shows up, everyone else will die." Beerus was originally angry at Lewis for teasing him, but after hearing this, his expression turned serious, and he also smelled a conspiracy from the Bojack incident. "What are you talking about?" Taisai next to her was a little confused. Lewis hugged Tais and shook his head, saying, "No, I just messed with some sewer garbage. Don't go back to Earth recently. Remember to stay with me." The atmosphere suddenly became a little solemn. "Yes, I will. I'll go wherever you are." Tais put her arms around Lewis' waist. "All right, let's go back to the Gods of Destruction world first, and challenge the rest of the universe later. Lewis is ready to go home." Suddenly, 5 extremely evil auras filled the entire 7th universe. "Ha ha ha, Master Lewis, it's time for us to go home." A moment. Earth Heaven. Bobo looked up suddenly and muttered, "What are they doing here? Can't they recognize that Lewis is not our adult?" Bobo shook his head and looked back into the depths of the temple. Inside Xeno Palace. Bold. Grand Priest just looked in the direction of the 7th universe, furious. Demi-Cooler and the other 5 actually dared to break into the Xeno universe. The eraser next to him was a little confused and said in a childish voice, "Grand Priest, what's wrong with you?" Grand Priest said respectfully, "Master Xeno, the 5 demons from the Dark Demon Realm have arrived." "You? Oh, just take care of it. I want to play Star Destroying." "Yes." Endless dark energy swept across the entire 7th universe. The space of the 7th universe froze instantly and turned into a prison in an instant. Without the power of a priest, there is no way to escape from it. The star field near the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Boom! 5 thick dark beams of light descended from the sky. Demon God Demi-Cooler. The demon Dora, with the body of a sphinx and the face of a man, has an extremely violent aura. The demon god Ers has long blue hair, green eyes, and stands on a giant black kun. He exudes an ancient and vicissitudes of life. The demon Leela is the only female demon, but she is skinny and bony, with a pair of empty eyes that seem to be able to pull people into the endless abyss. The demon god Ross has a strong body, and the black tights on his body are bulging. The 5 great demons are coming. Hiss! In the starry sky, Beerus and Whis gasped. 5 great demon gods. A terrifying dark aura approached, and Whis quickly set up an energy shield, but it was of no use. Crack! The energy shield exploded instantly. Lewis hugged Tais and pressed her little head in his arms. Seeing this, his scalp went numb. Erase! Lewis raised one hand and started to wipe out the dark aura that was approaching. A white halo streaked across the starry sky. The dark aura that attacked dissipated instantly, but only a part of it dissipated, and there is still an endless stream of dark aura attacking this side. No! Lewis and his friends were in despair. Suddenly, the originally frozen 7th universe was suddenly broken by a holy halo. As the sacred halo spread, the icy dark aura dissipated instantly, like winter snow meeting the early sun. Grand Priest descended from the sky with a holy halo on his head. It seems that you have recognized Lewis' identity. Father! Whis couldn't help but feel relieved when he saw the Grand Priest coming. Beerus patted his chest. Sure enough, Tova's actions were definitely not that simple. Chapter 98. Supreme Kai World. Hiss! The 5 great demons are finished, our 7th universe is finished. Old Supreme Kai squatted on the ground and looked at the crystal ball, his face full of fear. Ancestor, who are the 5 great demon gods? Asen asked hurriedly. He looked at the 5 people who suddenly appeared and his heart beat faster. Fear. Inexplicable fear. It was even more intense than the feeling Majin Buu had given him. They are the 5 great demon gods of the dark world. I didn't expect them all to come out. The old Supreme Kai looked at Lewis in the crystal ball and said solemnly, if I'm not mistaken, they must be here to find Lewis. What to do? The 5 great demon gods are all masters at the priest level. Sudden. On the crystal ball, a figure fell from the sky, and the dark atmosphere around it disappeared in an instant, like the receding tide. Grand Priest Adult. Ha ha ha, our 7th universe is saved. I knew the Grand Priests wouldn't just stand by and watch. Northern Milky Way. A figure flew down from the starry sky, and the Grand Priest stood in front of Lewis and the others, confronting the 5 people from the dark demon realm. Light and darkness collide. The force generated will shatter the universe. In the face of such a vast force, Tais felt like a small boat in the ocean, which could be overturned by just a little wave. She hid in Lewis's arms, trembling. Don't be afraid. Lewis hugged Tais tightly, and he couldn't help but feel relieved when he saw the Grand Priest coming. But Demi-Cooler said, Lord Lewis, we are going home. What does this mean? Also, Grand Priest just said to Demi-Cooler and the others, you actually recognized Lewis' identity. Do I have another identity? Lewis frowned. The system clearly said that he was no one, just an ordinary Saiyan. The doubts in my heart are growing stronger and stronger. Is the dog system lying to me? Lewis hugged Tais, turned to look at Whis, and yelled, Whis, who am I? I don't know either. Whis also wanted to know what Lewis' identity was. It seemed that his brothers and sisters knew something, but he was the only one who was kept in the dark. Have no idea. Lewis glanced again at Beerus who was shivering behind Whis. Beerus stuck out his cat head and rolled his eyes, even Whis doesn't know, how would I know? Hateful. Lewis gritted his teeth. He had never felt this way before, as if the whole world was deceiving him. Even that dog system is the same, saying that erasing all these is his power, who am I? At this time, the words in front made Lewis and others PK up their ears. It's normal for you to discover Lewis' identity. After all, the power in Lewis is exactly the same as that of your adult. But how dare you break into Xeno universe? You must be tired of living. The power of Grand Priest is growing. Ordinary angels simply don't dare to go all out in the Xeno universe, because they will be bound by the rules of the Xeno universe, unable to participate in the battle between good and evil, nor can they use the power of angel to fight. Once angel breaks the principle of neutrality, their lives will disappear. But Grand Priest is different. The power erupted by Grand Priest is fundamentally different from the power of KS. Every ray of Grand Priest's power is full of laws. The Priest realm does not have 3 levels like the Angel realm. The Priest realm only has 1 level. However, it is impossible for a priest to possess laws. Xeno boundary. Grand Priest's power has broken through to the Xeno realm. This is also the reason why Grand Priest dares to go all out in the Xeno universe, because the power of the Xeno realm is already able to transcend the constraints of the universe. So strong. Seeing this, Lewis seemed to forget the depression in his heart. He was frightened by the power of Grand Priest. It's not that the Grand Priest's power could kill him, but this was the first time he saw the Grand Priest take action, whether in the anime or after traveling to the Dragon Ball world. The power of Grand Priest seems to be a little different from that of KS. Whis, could it be that your father's power has broken through to the Xeno realm? Whis had never told him about the powers above the Priest realm, but he could probably guess that above the Priest realm was the Xeno realm. Nonsense, without the Xeno realm, how could the Grand Priest possibly fight 5 alone? Beerus, who was hiding behind Whis, rolled his eyes again. Whis also nodded. His father's power was actually no secret, so it didn't matter if he told it out. Gurgle. Lewis swallowed hard. The Grand Priest's power had actually reached the Xeno realm. How strong would Xeno's power be? At this time. Crash. In front, the law of light on the Grand Priest turned into a sharp sword and slashed forward. One sword to calm the mountains and rivers. Snap. Cracks appeared in the starry sky, and the cracks became more and more numerous, like a spider web. Facing the sword of light that was coming towards them, Demi, Cooler and the other four remained expressionless. They already knew that the Grand Priest's power had broken through to the Xeno realm, while the power of the 5 demon gods was only at the priest level. It is simply impossible for 5 priests to defeat one Xeno. Even 100 priests cannot do it. But... ha ha ha, we dare to show up here, do you really think we don't have other means? Demi-Cooler laughed and glanced at the 4 demons next to him. Do it now. As soon as the words fell, an extremely dark aura burst out from Demi-Cooler and the other 4 demons. The 5 of them circled in the starry sky like 5 black holes. Go ahead. The 5 demons stretched out their hands, and the black power on their bodies gathered in the palms of their hands along their arms. 5 people worked together. The black forces gathered together to form an ancient dragon, roaring towards the Sword of Light. Collide with it. Boom. The starry sky shook, and the entire 7th universe exploded instantly. The Sword of Light that Grand Priest had radiated had disappeared, it had been neutralized. Xeno universe. The 7th universe is gone. What's going on? No, one is the power of the Grand Priest, and the other 5 are the power of the Dark Demon Realm. Dark Demon Realm invaded our Xeno universe. All the gods of destruction and angels in Xeno universe were frightened by these 2 forces, and they all flew towards the 7th universe. Northern Milky Way. The 7th universe exploded, forming nothingness. Grand Priest stood in front of Lewis and the others, blocking all the aftermath. Beerus, Taisai and Whis were finally fine. But Beerus was in tears when he saw his universe being destroyed. It's an unlucky year. First Saiyan was killed by Bojack and his gang, and now his 7th universe has also been destroyed. Lewis, I'm scared. Tais was trembling all over, this kind of battle made her feel terrified. Don't be afraid, we'll be fine with Grand Priest here. Lewis patted Tais on the back. Lewis really didn't expect that Demi-Cooler and the others were so strong that they could withstand Grand Priest's attack. It's actually the power of darkness. In front, Grand Priest raised his brows as he watched his Sword of Light being offset. He didn't care about the fact that the 7th universe exploded. He looked at Demi-Cooler and the other 5 and said jokingly, Mecha Capra actually gave you the power of darkness. Interesting. But if you can block my first attack, can you block my second attack? Grand Priest saw through the power of Demi-Cooler and the other 5. Different from Angel's light power, the power erupting from Demi-Cooler and the other 5 people belongs to the power of darkness. The power of darkness is the nemesis of the power of light, and it is also a power unique to Mechapura. Obviously, it was Mechapura who bestowed the power of darkness on the 5 of them. Chapter 99. Blocking you. Demon God Ers stepped on the giant Kun, looked at the Grand Priest in front of him, and shook his head, even if we have the dark power given by Master Mesacapra, we can't be your opponent. You are quite self-aware. On the opposite side, the Grand Priest nodded slightly with a look of contempt, as if nothing in the world could cause him to fluctuate. You can't take Lewis away while I'm here. Have you figured out how to die? The aura of light emanating from the Grand Priest surged once again, as if the God of Light had descended upon the earth, and the sacred aura swept across the entire Xeno universe. Why did they take me? Lewis looked at Grand Priest's back. Am I still related to the Dark World? That's not right. If I had anything to do with the Dark World, why did Demi-Cooler attack me last time? In front, a gleam of light flashed in the empty eyes of the demon god Leela. Take Lord Lewis away? No, no, no. We are not that stupid. It was even difficult for them to escape from the Grand Priest, let alone taking someone away from a Xeno-level master. This was simply impossible. But... ha ha ha, our purpose was not to take Lord Lewis away. The demon Dora has the appearance of a sphinx, and the aura he exudes is very evil. As soon as these words came out, in the void, Lewis hugged Tateus tightly, and suddenly the ominous premonition in his heart became stronger and stronger. The Grand Priest who was standing in front of Lewis and the others frowned. Isn't the purpose to take Lewis away? Grand Priest racked his brains but couldn't figure out the purpose of Demi-Cooler and his 5 companions. Stop talking nonsense and get started. The muscles of the demon god Ross exploded, causing the black tights on his body to burst. For a moment, the 4 people including Demi-Cooler had playful expressions on their faces, and all began to burst out with strength. The dark force was once again condensed together by them, forming an energy bomb with a diameter of 10,000 meters. The void zone formed after the explosion of the 7th universe instantly boiled. Wisps of electric arcs danced around the energy bomb, and Demi, Cooler and the other 5 pushed with both hands. Crash! Xeno universe is shaking constantly. This force can threaten the entire Xeno universe. Interesting. But you are not Mecha Capra. Even if you possess the dark power given by Mecha Capra, you are still ants after all. Then I will kill you all. Without you, I believe the Dark Demon Realm will bleed heavily this time. The Grand Priest laughed. The power of Xeno Realm surged in his body, and the void area where there was nothing suddenly had a storm. Lightning and thunder. It's like the end of the world. Grand Priest looked back at Lewis, then turned to look at Demi, Cooler and the other 5. Erase. The Grand Priest waved his hand. Buzz. A white halo burst out from his hand, like a bright Shenron, roaring forward with the momentum of destroying the world. I've been waiting for this moment. Demi Cooler laughed and quickly escaped from the 5 people. Grand Priest had just used Erase when Demi Cooler's move caught him off guard. At this time. Buzz. The white erasing light had flashed across the dark energy bomb with a diameter of 10,000 meters, and the energy bomb disappeared instantly. It's not over yet. Erasure continued to flash towards the remaining 4 demons. The expressions of the 4 demons were very strange. They smiled and turned a blind eye to the Grand Priest's erasure, as if they were indifferent to life and death. And the other side. The disappeared Demi Cooler suddenly appeared in front of Lewis. Lord Lewis, I'm sorry. Demi Cooler laughed. He took out a staff from the void and emitted a ray of light towards Ty's and Lewis' arms. No. Lewis hugged Ty's tightly and quickly turned his body around so that his back was facing the light. However, the light seemed to have life. It passed by Lewis' back and directly hit Ty's in his arms. A moment. The void zone distorted instantly. Bite. Immunity. Lewis was hit by the power of Demi Cooler, but he was fine. However. Lewis, Ty's became unreal, and she wanted to reach out and touch Lewis' face, but when her hand was raised in the air, she disappeared. Then, Demi Cooler instantly disappeared into the void. The other side. As expected, white light flashed across the 4 demons, and they completely disappeared into the void. The 4 demons were wiped out. Dark Demon World. Putin, Gulabi, 12 angel-level masters gathered together, staring intently at the scene in the sky. Tova was also here. She clenched her fists until she saw Ty's disappear. She shouted excitedly, "Success! Ha ha ha, Master Lewis' return is just around the corner." Gulabi shouted excitedly. Only Putin looked gloomy. It took the sacrifice of 4 demon gods to get this opportunity. Master Lewis, you must come back. Hearing this, the mood of everyone present instantly became depressed. The 7th universe, the Void Zone. Damn you Demi Cooler, this is what you came up with. Grand Priest wiped out the remaining 4 demons, and he finally realized Demi Cooler's purpose. He wanted to provoke Lewis and make him turn evil. In this way, Lewis will most likely awaken his memories of his past life. No, I won't let that happen. The Grand Priest was furious. He waved his hand and the rules of time flowed into the void. A silver light flashed. The 7th universe instantly returned to its original state before it was destroyed. However, Taisai in Lewis' arms is still nowhere to be seen. Chapter 100. The Grand Priest used time reversal but failed to save Taisai, and even the 4 demons did not recover. Apparently, Demi Cooler used a power similar to erasure on Tais. Only someone with a perverted physique like Lewis could ignore this kind of power, or in other words, someone with a power comparable to it could also ignore it. Otherwise, this power can erase everything in the world, and it cannot be restored using the rules of time. Tais is dead. There was deathly silence in the deep starry sky. Beerus and Whis don't know Demi Cooler's plan, but Lewis must be in pain now that Tais is dead. Lewis, you. The 2 masters and apprentices wanted to comfort Lewis, but they didn't know how to start. More than a decade ago, Lewis brought Tais back to the world of gods of destruction. Every time Lewis went out on a planet-destroying mission, he would take Tais with him. Every time Lewis finished his training, Taisai would prepare delicious food for him. The 2 are inseparable and fall in love with each other over time. Beerus and the other man witnessed Lewis and Tais experience together. Given Lewis' feelings for Tais, when Tais died, Beerus and the others had no idea how to comfort Lewis. Tell him not to be angry? Fart. If Lewis cannot be angry in this situation, is he still a human being? Unlike Beerus and the others, Grand Priest had already guessed Demi-Cooler and the others' plan. Demi-Cooler and his men killed Ties because they wanted to use Louis' closest relative to turn Louis completely evil, so as to activate their adult's memories. Is it really going to turn evil? Grand Priest stared at Louis in the starry sky and swallowed hard. Whis, come to me quickly. Grand Priest's tone was very anxious. Although Whis and the others were confused, they still left Louis and went to the Grand Priest. Now Grand Priest felt a little relieved. If Louis really turned evil, he would be able to take Whis and the others away in time. At this time, dozens of colorful streams of light flew in from the universe barrier at a very fast speed, and appeared next to the Grand Priest the next second. They were none other than the angels and gods of destruction who came from other universes. You guys are here too. Grand Priest is in tears, so many people came, are they looking for death? He didn't have the confidence to escape from Louis, whose memory and power had awakened. Kes glanced at the dazed Louis in front of him, then frowned and said, Father, did the seventh universe explode just now? And what about those guys in the Dark Demon Realm? I'll explain it to you later. Remember, once the dark aura appears on Louis, you must take your brothers and sisters away. Grand Priest flew in front of the angels. Grand Priest's actions confused everyone present. What happened? Why is it said that there is a dark aura on Louis? Besides, Grand Priest is the best master under Zeno, and his tone seems to indicate that he is worried that something bad is going to happen. The angels are looking at Louis. Back to the Dark Demon Realm, Demi-Cooler and the others were also looking at Louis in the starry sky of the universe through projection. Sudden. Under the starry sky, Louis' dull expression finally showed some changes. Taze. Louis was still in the half-hug position, his eyes were empty, and he kept repeating Tize's name. How about you protect me and I make you something delicious to eat? You think I'd look good with long hair? Do I look good with long hair? Louis, I love you. He, I'm so happy, Louis, you finally know how I feel, this is what Tize once said. Louis had never known what it was like to lose Tize, but now he felt it. The moment Tize disappeared, his soul seemed to be torn apart. It hurts. The angels who came here were stunned. What happened to Louis? But since the Grand Priest didn't speak, they didn't speak either. Louis kept repeating Tize's name, and the images of him and Tize together kept hitting his mind. It hurts so much. Louis covered his heart, and 2 drops of bloody tears flowed from his eyes. Sadness and despair. My Tize. Extreme anger. Louis's face was ferocious, and the aura on his body began to churn. Seeing this scene, Grand Priest yelled out, Kes, take everyone away, quickly. Kes also realized something was wrong. She didn't dare to hesitate at all and immediately disappeared into the starry sky with her group. When Demi-Cooler and the others from the Dark Demon Realm saw this, they couldn't help but be overjoyed, it was going to work. Grand Priest was the only one left in the starry sky. He saw that something was wrong with Louis' situation, but he still had a glimmer of hope for Louis in his heart. Because once Louis awakens his memory and power, Zeno, in his dazed state, won't be able to deal with Louis at all. Ah! Demi-Cooler, I will make you die. In the starry sky, the aura of Louis was like a volcanic eruption, fierce and violent. His hair turned golden in an instant. Super Saiyan full power. The power breaks through to the peak of the second level of the divine realm. Then, the ions floating in the starry sky gathered together to form silver arcs, which jumped around Louis like silver dragons. Crackling. The breath that burst out from Louis was like the roar of a prehistoric giant ape, and the overwhelming power spread out like surging waves, one after another hitting the starry sky. Enter the state of Super Saiyan 2. With a click, the shackles were broken. The power surged from the second level of the God Realm to the third level of the God Realm. Ah! It wasn't over yet. Louis shed tears of blood, his green eyes turned blood red, and the aura on his body became more and more evil, like an ancient demon. It's really going to turn dark. Grand Priest's body trembled, and the last bit of hope in his heart was instantly shattered. He disappeared from the spot, not daring to stay here for another second. After Grand Priest left, Louis' status changed again. The powerful force stirred the magnetic field of the starry sky, and the silver arcs jumping around suddenly formed thicker lightning day by day. Cut through the starry sky. It was like thunder destroying the world. Boom. Louis' hair is starting to grow longer and his eyebrows are disappearing. Wait until your long golden hair reaches your waist. Super Saiyan 3. In just a moment, Lewis broke through from the full power of Super Saiyan to the Super 3 state. The power suddenly surged to the peak of the third level of the Divine Realm. With a crack, the shackles were broken again, breaking through to the fourth level of the Realm of God. A power at the level of true gods of destruction. The aura of destruction bursts out and pure power roars. A moment. The galaxy is shattered. The star field with a radius of tens of billions of miles collapsed in an instant, and the Galactic Patrol headquarters, which had just recovered, was destroyed again. Demi-Cooler, I want you dead. Extreme anger filled Lewis' mind. Ty's death made it painful for him to breathe. He waved his hand, a space crack appeared in the starry sky, and he jumped into it. After Lewis left, Grand Priest and his angels returned here. Beerus held onto Whis tightly and asked worriedly, Whis, what happened to Lewis? Is he going to the dark world now? Whis's face was solemn, Taiza's blow to him was too great. His extreme anger caused him to break through from the second level of the God Realm to the fourth level of the God Realm. If nothing unexpected happens, he should have gone to the Dark Demon Realm. Unlike Whis and the others, KS's eyebrows were twisted together. She had realized what was happening. Obviously, it was the people in the Dark Demon Realm who wanted to activate Lewis' memory and let him return to the Dark Demon Realm. But what is going on now? Kes looked at Grand Priest with strange eyes. Grand Priest shook his head. He was also very confused. The aura that Lewis just exuded was very evil. Didn't he turn evil? Only the power of the fourth level of the Divine Realm? Why didn't his power awaken? How so? Earth, the Temple of Heaven. Bobo walked into the temple, his usual expression of neither sadness nor joy disappeared, and he looked happy. Walk through the corridor and go down the stairs. Through the cemetery of the gods. I came to a pitch-black space. The smell here was very strong and extremely evil. Bobo, come and play with me. An eraser dressed in black jumped out of a small coffin. He blinked his big eyes and looked innocent, but he exuded an extremely evil aura. Very inconsistent. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.